Cool. All good
Fabulous.
to go.
G to G. Oh dear. That's very comfortable, isn't it?
Mm.
I never actually sat on here before.
Is that all right where it is at the minute?
Am I still in the shop?
Yeah. Both
Perfect.
sofas are in the
We
shop.
don't have to look.
Beautiful.
If I creep up like
Is that?
Welcome to our latest episode
In
of
detail.
of our podcast. And today we have Tim.
Ray. Me, I'm here.
I don't know your second name. I think I've ever known.
It's Naylor.
Naylor.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
'Cause your son.
Obviously, yeah.
In my phone, you're just Tim Cafe.
Yes, most people have me down as Tim Cafe.
Yeah.
Cafe man.
Yeah.
So Tim is the manager of Café Miura, which is where we're currently recording, and we always record.
I didn't say Miura because I always get it wrong.
Yeah, Aaron always says
Moira.
Moira.
Moira, like
I
Moira
always
Stewart.
said-
Oh, you say like Muriel.
Miura. Miura. I'm going to say it wrong loads of times. Miura.
It's quite often spelt incorrectly, but it's very often pronounced incorrectly.
Yeah.
But it's
More-
easy, it's an easy one.
We know what Miura is, but explain to those what Miura is.
The Lamborghini Miura was...
So it is actually named after the car then.
It is. It's named after
Yeah.
the car. The font that we used for the logo that is Café Miura was really meant to be, not really ripping off, obviously, the actual font that's on the back of the Miura.
Okay.
But it was the same thing, just cleaned up slightly. Obviously, the image or the shape is the door, which is a very
Yeah, is that like the
significant
vent
door.
from the brake?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
I always wondered what that was.
Yeah.
It's kind of only just clicked to me as well.
I thought it was a plane wing.
Very subtle. It's very, very subtle.
Yeah.
But it was meant to be something. We were trying to think of a name when we first came, and really, I couldn't get it out of my head. Once I thought of Café Miura, I couldn't get it out of my head. So I said,
we're all staring that way, so
go for it.
I'll put a picture in
Gaz will do the edits.
Yes.
of what we're looking at, but it's
Yeah.
the logo behind the behind the.
We're just
desk.
staring into the distance.
So I have an obsession with what was deemed as the first real supercar. There was nothing like it at the time. It was a back room exercise. Ferruccio Lamborghini had talked about doing something, but his engineers got together, small group and designers got together and started putting something together. And when it was first shown, mid-60s, it was only shown at the Geneva Motor Show as a chassis. They hadn't clothed it at that point.
Oh, okay.
And it was not until the following year, but it was a transverse V12, so the same engine pretty much as you would get in the Lamborghinis of the time, but it was turned transverse. They looked at the Mini. They looked at the...
Does that mean it was sideways?
Yes,
Yeah.
transverse across the
Normally
car
longitudinal.
instead of longitudinal.
Yeah.
But they looked at the Mini and they took inspiration from the Mini with a transverse engine and they put it in that way. But it shared the engine and gearbox was the same oil. It was the same sump. They didn't split until later, which is a problem, or could be a problem, because you start crunching gears. Eventually, those shavings get into the engine. When on normal, you wouldn't have that. It wouldn't get mixed. But the early ones were, and the early cars were. I mean, it went really well. The sales went really well. To say they only made 762 over the time between mid 60s and early 70s, they really could have sold many more, but they were very hand built.
So how many are there now?
There isn't a figure, or I certainly haven't seen a figure, but I would say probably 70% left, something like that.
Of that 700?
Of that 762.
So there wasn't any more produced
No.
afterwards, and that's it?
No. There's a few, there's one original convertible or removable roof, and there's a racing version. They never raced it. But they did a few different models. So an early model has a very thin chassis, so the material was very thin. And then they thickened it because the chassis twisted. And then they did go wider with back wheels and a little more work on the engine, and the eyelashes went from the front from the headlights. But my thing with the Miura was modern cars and how modern cars are designed, which I don't really have a passion for as much as the older stuff,
Neither do we.
because they're too much.
yeah.
They're too much of an appliance,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what I have a problem with. Which for some people is fine, but I don't want to drive a fridge.
Yeah.
I want to drive something that
The
looks
Tesla,
reason.
the
Exactly,
Tesla
yeah.
Smeg
It's fabulous.
fridge. Sorry, I'm taking my shoes off. They smell.
You always do that.
It won't
Yeah, I
offend
know, I
me.
wanna
I'm,
get
I'm
comfy.
far enough away. But what I like about the Miura was, and cars of the time, but certainly the Miura, that shape was designed 2D, drawn, sketch, whatever, and it was developed. At some point, that guy took, which was Marcello Gandini, I have a picture on the wall over there, maybe
Yeah,
take
yeah.
a picture of that as well, because he died this year. He would have taken that to someone else who physically beat that metal into shape, or a group of people. That guy who took that inspiration and actually formed this thing, this shape, to make such a beautiful shape. It is such a piece of art. In my eyes, it's such a piece of art. And for it to go as well as it did and sound as well as it did, there is nothing like it.
Well, and it was the first.
And it was the first.
It was the first supercar, wasn't it?
It rattled Ferrari, and it rattled a few other people around the world. And
So what is it that I remember seeing something or reading something about the Miura.
good on Moira.
How did the lights just turn on?
I don't know.
I think
As it
Some
goes?
movement in the pit lane, maybe.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I was watching or reading something about it being the first supercar, and that's where I learned it was. What made it the first supercar? Because obviously Ferraris existed back in the day.
Yeah.
There's someone here. I don't know who that is.
There's potentially, well, not potentially. There's a choir. Andrew's.
Oh yes, I saw the
He
sign
did say
for
they might-
choir.
Downstairs, maybe.
Something. It doesn't matter. Like,
We might hear him
As long as-
background
as long as
music.
we can still, as long as we can
As long
still.
as we don't have to sing along.
No,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
it'll be
As long
fine.
as we don't walk in front of the camera and stuff.
You hum it, I'll play
We'll
it.
be
But
fine.
yeah,
It
so
was-
yeah, what made it? Because obviously Ferraris existed,
Yeah.
Porsche obviously existed back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
But what made that the first supercar?
It was exotic in its design,
Yeah,
pretty much. I know Porsche had a rear engine, but this was a mid-engine, and it was a large engine, large capacity, whereas
Yeah.
Porsche were very small,
yeah,
but they're very light.
yeah.
Ferrari was still going down the line of front engine,
Yeah.
and it was front, it wasn't front mid,
Yeah.
rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So this was rear-wheel drive. Definite two-seater, definitely not a Grand Tourer, never meant to be.
Yeah.
Exotic in every way, really, because it was something that engineering had never been done.
Yeah.
It was a monocoque. It wasn't a separate chassis. It was a sheet metal folded chassis,
Yeah.
which had never been done really at that point. So I think it
Well,
was.
that's what all cars are now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a number
Oh, so
of
that was
firsts.
the first sheet metal.
Well, it was a number of firsts. There were there were people that had done it before, but not
Considering
the
it was a brand
combination
new
of
that.
all.
Considering it was a
Yeah,
brand new
yeah, of
company,
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
The issue that they had with the Miura, of course, was it was very light on the front end.
Yeah.
Fuel
yeah.
tank in the front, and as you used the fuel, it got lighter.
It got lighter.
And as you went faster, it got lighter. And it, 170, 180, it would make the front wheels go very light.
Do you remember the? This is kind of off topic, but kind of on topic. I'm sure it was Le Mans. I think it was Le Mans anyway.
No, they flipped.
Was it Merc? Maybe
Yeah, Merc did it. Merc did it
that
twice.
flew
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you never seen the video?
Quite enough air.
I've got a feeling I might be
Possibly.
making this up, but
No,
Le
no,
Mans, you know how the can't remember what the long straight's called now.
There's a Mulsanne Street.
Mulsanne Straight.
It's a bit of a specialist subject to mine.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But obviously, I went there
Yeah.
5 years ago for
Yeah.
the 24-hour, and yeah, they added the chicanes in,
Yeah.
didn't they? And I didn't know why they did, but they said the reason
to
for
slow
that
it
was to
down,
bring
yeah.
the speed down.
Yeah.
Because at the end of it, the cars were doing 200 plus miles per
They were
hour.
250 miles an hour.
Yeah. And then it was getting dangerous, getting really dangerous.
It was Peter Dumbreck who flipped the Merc into the trees at the side. And those trees had been cut, or there was a clearing, and he missed the trees, and he landed on the wheels again, and they got him out. No,
I think
detriment.
that's
But Mark Webber did as well, but he flipped it over
really?
just a small flip and onto its
How
side.
long
That's got to be 99, 2000-ish,
Oh, okay.
something like that.
Wow.
Something like
Not
that.
too long ago.
But it was the flat floor. He went. There's a bump as you get to the end of the Mulsanne Straight, and you're really motoring.
Yeah.
Mulsanne corner is 2 parts, and it's quite a fast corner going in, and then it tightens.
Yeah.
And before there's a hump, and you go over the hump, and that's what did it. It was a certain speed. The air got underneath it, and it flipped it backwards. And it went all the way over and landed back on its wheels. But because it was turning at the time, the road was turning. He went straight over.
Yeah.
So luckily,
I remember seeing. I can't remember, like I say, which video it was or what I saw. It's just. Can you imagine just driving along?
Yeah.
And then just you go.
There was a few F1 cars that have done it before. Same thing over a rise. Just give it a little bit of a help, and it went for it.
Yeah.
But there's it did go. Miura used to go light apparently, and the people would add a little bit of weight. But I think the key was just keep plenty of fuel in it, keep the nose down.
Yeah,
I mean 170 mile an hour in anything is fast.
Every time you go past the petrol station, just pull in.
Yeah, just
keep it topped up. Yeah, keep it topped up at all times. Yeah. So where did your obsession come from? Was it just purely the fact that you saw this car?
Since I was very, very young, and I still have the sketchbooks, I've been sketching cars. I wanted to be a car designer.
Oh, wow, okay.
Are you just acting surprised for the podcast?
No, I genuinely didn't know this.
Oh, I feel like I told you. Because he showed me. I came up here one day to get some food, and I just looked behind, and he was just like, shh.
Yeah.
Or maybe. I don't know.
Could we take a picture of someone?
I can definitely get you some pictures. I haven't got the one that I was doing there. But I mean, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. If I look at a car, if we went to a show and we looked at a car, you'll see me look at a car in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying different individual, no one else does, but I look at it in a different way because I look at how it got from here to here. And there's not many things on a Miura that's a bad angle.
Yeah.
There are a couple. I'm not going to say what it is, but there are a couple. And it may be, objective, subjective, depending on who says what. But it was looking at those designs and working out how they did. And some cars are better executed than others in a design perspective.
I completely get it because, there's it's one of the, I feel like these days, I'll always describe a car as pretty. If I see a car, it's pretty, it's nice, it's got the angles, it's this, that. But then I feel like these days, a lot of that is lost because a lot of cars are made to look aggressive.
Yeah.
Pointy at bits, this, that, whatever. And I just feel from a design point of view, it looks...
Or it's for safety.
Yeah, it's like you look at... Well, no, not necessarily. I'm talking like, as an example, M cars. BMW M cars, especially like newer ones, right? To me, who was I? What I can't remember.
Well,
who I was
everything's
watching.
Sporty as well these days. Nobody wants to drive around in something that's not sporty.
Yes and no, but like define sporty because sporty these days is
the angles, like you're saying.
Well, yeah, it's angles and it's the way like grills are designed and just all sorts of different bits that they're adding onto these cars to make them look aggressive. And to me,
they're not functional, are they?
No.
They're not functional.
No. How many cars do we see with fake vents?
Exactly. I have a problem. Now, if you look at the Miura, it's a less is more.
Yeah.
Any design to me,
like
all Italian design, less is more.
Yeah, 100%.
They don't need to be fussy if the design's good in the first place. And that's what I used to like about developing designs because I would see something. I wouldn't necessarily copy it, but I've always been able to visualize something and then draw it.
Yeah.
If I did anything, if I excelled at anything, and I always put myself down, I never excelled at anything. But if there was any one thing, it was art or something to do with, and my specialist subject was cars and aircraft and things like that. And I enjoyed that part of it. So I would enjoy producing a design, which may be the headlights from that, and the taillights from that, and the doors from that. But it was... By doing that, you can see why they came to the conclusion. Well, if you look at a Miura, there is nothing superfluous on the Miura. The only bits of fancy detail are the door design for vents and the eyelashes on the early cars around the headlights.
Is that
nothing?
Is that
really.
got eyelashes on there? What I can see above the.
I know what you mean by the eyelashes.
I believe it has. Yeah. And those things, they were manufactured. They were not plastic molded. They were manufactured. And if you look very closely, they're not even a single blade. They're a shaped blade.
Right.
And each blade is a different length.
Right.
If you look at the detail. But if you, I'll have one in the book that I've got. But if you look at a Miura, quite a few photography shots of the Miura as the doors open, and with the doors only not having a frame to the top, only the back edge. They're the bull horns, which is what he was a Taurus, a Taurian.
Yeah.
And so it was meant to be. Miura is a breed of bull or a fighting bull. So all of his cars, that's where it came from, because he was a Taurian. It was very fiery, was Ferruccio Lamborghini, but he was a very good businessman. He made his money in tractors, of course. Then went into other things.
Did the cars? Yeah. Was it? What was the story? He wanted to buy a Ferrari, or he didn't like the Ferrari?
Yeah, I think there's a few versions of it, but the best one I've heard, as I think would be most accurate, is he was successful. He liked nice cars. He didn't have any intention of building his own cars, so he bought an Italian car, which was a Ferrari, and he had a problem with it. He had a problem with the clutch, and when he took it to Ferrari and he spoke to Mr. Ferrari, and he said that. Don't you sort out your tractors, and you stick with your tractors, and I'll do the cars. What are you to tell me, pretty much, about this? Well, when they took it apart, the clutch plate was the same as the one in his tractor, and he said, "So I'm paying you all this money for this exotic car, and it has the same clutch as my tractors. I could do better than this, basically." And he did, and it rattled him. And so maybe he would have had a friendship with him, because they were both
Would
very
this have been when
tenacious.
Ferrari was still kind of building the cars?
He was very involved. I mean, he was very involved, probably up to mid to late 70s into the 80s. The last car he signed off would have been the F40. I've got a story about an F40 as well.
That's one of my favourite cars.
Yeah, which I'll tell you about that now.
Okay.
Because I'll just forget about it. Yeah. We'll come back to why I got to meet this chap this year. But an old fella, a real car enthusiast. And it was on one of the hospitality tours that we do. And I'd been tipped off he was a Ferrari man, so I needed to speak to him. And I went to him and said, "Rod, I need to ask you about your Ferraris," which, of course, once you ask him, he'll tell you everything. And I said, "So this F40 that you've got, he bought it brand new, he ordered it, and he fetched it from the factory, and he drove it back from Italy, back to Kent, I think he lived at the time.
Okay.
And he's done 40,000 miles in it. And he's never crashed it. It's very original, but he's used it. 40,000 miles, a lot of mileage for an F40. It's getting to the point now, he says, where if he did crash it or something happened, it would not be original. So he understands its value, but he doesn't want to not drive it. So he ordered an 812 Superfast, and he drives that all the time. Keeps his F40. So I said, that story's fantastic. I like that. I like the fact that you use your cars as well. I said, "What did you have before the F40? He says, "Well, I bought a 288 GTO, and I bought that from the factory, and I went to fetch that as well. And I met Enzo Ferrari, and I drove back." I said, "So just let me get this straight. You ordered a brand new 288 GTO, and then you sold that and you ordered a F40. He said, "Well, you had to have the Ferrari before you could have the F40. You had to be and he was a very good customer before." I said, "I love stories like that. That's a great story."
I love the fact he uses it.
And he uses it. There's a photo.
Sad.
There's a photo going around. I've seen it recently, maybe on somebody's used it again, and it does look like him actually. An F40 in London. I can't see the plate, and the rear clams up, and he's fixing something or he's checking something. It looks just like him, this old guy, because he was, a bit flamboyant. Such a nice guy.
When was it that you would have met Enzo Ferrari then?
Well, he would have done potentially for the F40, but it was when he ordered the 288. So 288 would have been 85, because it was designed. It was going to be a Group B rally car, or they're going to use it as. It was in that era, but it was the predecessor of the F40. If you look at when we're talking about design, one of the most beautiful designs, other than the Miura, was a 308, the original 308. The windscreen and roof on the 308 was the same as the 328. Was the same as the 288, was the same as the F40. All of those cars share the same screen and pretty much roof shape. And they didn't really alter it. The F40 was very different. Yeah,
I was going to say, because the F40, you put them next to an F40.
Well, you'll look at it different, but that's how I look at cars.
Interesting.
I look at the link between, and I look at the shapes, and I look at why things are the way they are. Part of that, really, from the shape point of view, is I got into kit cars. I had a book when I was 16, and it was a chap called, I think it was Andre Jute, and he wrote this book of how to build your own car. That absolutely fascinated me. After having Matchbox cars at an early age, there's another story. After having radio control cars and racing those and building those and developing those, and then first car, and then I built a kit car when I was, what would that be? Before I got married, 1990. I built my first kit car. Fell in love with GRP and the smell of it, which does you no good at all, but it's a great smell. But to see how this thing, how you could create something, kit car designers generally had to use things that were already made because it would cost a lot to develop a windscreen or a light unit or a door handle. So you had to be
why manufacturers share parts.
Exactly, and you have to be really ingenious to make these things fit and still be in a nice shape. So that's why I look at those things, because I'm always thinking, that windscreen would look great in that, and we could add the doors from that, and it would be
make Frankenstein of.
When I carried on like that. So there's lots of things about coming back to the design. There's lots of things that I like to do, and I enjoy just sketching cars, and I don't usually. Or not very often I'll draw the whole thing. I'll draw a part of it and then I'll develop it from that part. And the one that you saw me sketching is one I've been working on for about 2 years.
Right.
Wow. I'm going to build that one. I built a kit car, which was kit of parts. And it was like an early version before an MGF was an MGF.
Right.
Or an MR2 was an MR2.
Yeah.
GTM Rosser it was. And it was a mini subframe at the back with an engine but the steering locked, and a mini subframe at the front with no engine but with the steering rack still on it, in a GRP monocoque with clamshells front and back. And I built that, and I sold it after the first year because I was getting married, and I put the deposit on the house with it. That was back in the day when the houses were I think our first house was £56,000 for a 3-bedroom detached.
Wow, it's a deposit these days.
So yes, I think I put $7,000 down or something like that, which helped on the mortgage payments. Anyway, so I built that, and then I wanted to do one from plans, and I built in '97. I built a low cost, which is like a Lotus 7, like a Caterham or a Westfield. I literally built that from scratch, from the plans, but from scratch. I bought inch box section tubing. You put a board on the floor. Bought this book, and you buy Ron Champion, and you set the thing out on the floor. And I made everything, learned to weld properly, put this thing together. I made the aluminium panels, and I'm looking for something for the curved bonnet, and thinking, what could I use for that? Not having all the machinery, the gas bottle. So I uncoupled the gas bottle, fastened it on the bench, and I bent the aluminium around the gas bottle, and it was the perfect radius for the engine. And then I did that bonnet and then stood the gas bottle back up ready to
I genuinely thought you were going to say, I emptied the gas bottle and I cut that open.
Oh, no.
And I used that as a bonnet.
No, I might have done if it'd been empty. So I built that. That took me 4 years, but that was including moving house, having another child, which was Jake, the barista, and losing my job twice. And it took me 4 years to do it. And the neighbour across the road said, "You'll never finish it, but I hope you do." And I went back. He was the first person I went back to when I'd finished it, got it roll registered, and go, "There you go." He said, "Well, I've got to hand it to you. I didn't think you'd do it." So that was stage 1 was the kit. Stage 2 was from plans. Stage 3 is what I want to do now, which is build one of my own design. It could use a platform to save me time.
So does that mean you're going to design it?
Yeah.
And then when it comes to making it, are you going to be panel beating it all yourself then?
Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be an experience, because I'm going to use some aluminium, some steel, but some GRP as well for the curves, because I love GRP.
GRP is plastic, right?
Glass reinforced plastic. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's
So layers
almost like fiberglass, but not.
No, it is. That's what it is.
Oh,
it is fiberglass. Yeah, but GRP stands for glass reinforced plastic, because it's a resin, which is plastic.
Yeah.
So it's a woven cloth or chopped strand mat.
The fact you use metal is impressive.
All I'm picturing at the minute.
Yeah.
Well, your panel beating, and there's no offense to you.
Yeah.
There was an episode of Top Gear I watched recently when they make their own electric car. If you remember it, it's the milk float.
I remember it. Yeah.
And then Jeremy Clarkson's there, panel beating, and it's the big square. That's what I've got in my head. You're coming out of your garage with that.
Box.
I don't want it to look like a Cybertruck. As long as it doesn't look like a Cybertruck, it'll be fine. It'll be a labour of love thing, but it'll be something that I'm not trying to produce it. I'm not trying to make molds.
Yeah,
I'll make
yeah.
maybe things that I can reproduce, but I'm not worried about that. But I have 2 designs. But in 1999, 2000-ish, I think it was, or maybe a little bit later, maybe 2004, 3, 4, something like that. I bought the rights and molds to a kit car. And then a friend of mine bought the sister car, and we clubbed together to do. So I bought the Eagle SS, which was like the Nova, with the moving roof.
Yeah.
This was the same sort of thing, a Richard Oakes design, and then it had gull-wing doors.
Okay.
It was very similar to the Miura at the front, actually.
Right, okay.
So I didn't produce kits at the time. I wanted to, but we just moved house, and there's a lot of other things going on. But I just could not buy these molds and be a producer for a bit. So I made some spare parts. But I had problems in trying to bring it forward. But you were bringing a very old design from the 60s into 70s up to a modern era. So I designed a chassis to take the MR2 running gear, so Mark II MR2. I built this chassis as a rolling trial and then put a body. I'd actually bought another body instead of making one, an old one, and put it over the top. And I was developing that. But in the end, just so much time, it wasn't really the cost. And some Irish guy came and offered to buy the whole thing, so I sold it on. And I think it went to the Netherlands in the end.
Sounds like you're patient.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm the same. Like, we always say this, you're quite impatient with like car modification that you want.
Yes and no.
You always say you want everything done, so that's why nothing on your car is done, because
yeah, that's the thing.
You won't do it
But
in
once I start and I know I'm doing it, I want
once
to
you
do
start,
everything in one go.
Yeah.
I will stay up all night, for weeks and weeks and weeks just to get this thing done.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't you're very good at just bitting and bobbing. You can like go back to some
I'll fit
do it.
something.
It's like
finish that next week.
the closest thing I can think of is stuff like I used to do what they called, like the Airfix models.
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
I'm
I
still
used
doing
to
them.
love. Oh dear.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to
definitely,
do one again. I won competitions with.
Yeah.
I used to love doing it.
I like one for Christmas, like I had when I was little. And
Really?
I make one every Christmas. That's what I try and do.
See, I've actually
Why
got one. I think my dad got it me a few Christmas ago. I've still not touched it, and it's not an Airfix. It's not a plane or anything. It's Dominic Toretto's. What's his muscle car? What's he got in Fast and Furious? The black.
I'm not a fan.
I'm not sure.
No, I don't. I can't
If you
remember.
said it, I'd be like,
I can't remember what it is. Someone will answer it on comments.
It's some sort of. It's not a Dodge Charger, is it?
Maybe, I can't recall. But either way, he bought me a kit to build that, paint it, whatever. I've not touched because I know I could do it bit by bit.
Yeah.
But you're going to do the whole thing in one.
Save it.
Yeah,
But
because otherwise I'll get so
then
obsessed.
you'll
I'm like, I
never do
need
it.
to do this now. Yeah, exactly. I've not touched it. It's not to come out of the box. Because I know if I start it, I need to do it there and then. I'm so bad for that.
Well, I've never had the time. There's always been something, family and other things,
Yeah.
to continue with some of this stuff. I'm hoping now I get to, early retirement age, as I am, that I do have the time for it. But I don't mind taking the time if the end result, and I'm very, very self-critical of the end result, it'll need to be of a certain quality, or I don't
it needs to be right.
It needs to be right. So I would sooner take the time, but I'll do a lot of DIY stuff, and I would sooner take the time and do it once. I don't really like to do a job twice.
Yeah,
I like it done properly, even if it takes me 3 times as long as most. I don't want to go back to it.
Yeah.
I want to do it and walk away. It might need redoing again in 10 years, but I want to do it right in the first place.
You won't be doing it next
Well,
week.
that's the life of a detailer. That's exactly what we're all about.
exactly,
we have to do it once, do it right.
Do it right.
And you make a good job. I'm very impressed.
I say it to customers. I always say to them, look, it literally, as they're leaving, I'll be like, look, this is how to look after it, right? This is what you need to do. If you have any questions, whatever, anything you need, call me, because at the end of the day, when you come back in a year's time or 2 years' time, whatever it is, I want this car to look exactly the same, because if it doesn't, I have to redo the work and I'm not going to be happy. And I get it, they're going to have to pay again or whatever. It doesn't matter, I don't care. I don't want to have to redo it again. Yeah, exactly. I hate repeating work.
The car as well, it does feel like you're just doing the same
You're just
job again.
repeating yourself.
Even if you have another car in the next day that's the same car.
Yeah. That's fine. That's a different
different.
challenge.
Yeah.
But when it's the same job, no, I can't.
So you got to look at that in a different way, haven't you? You know, I always say you can't eat the whole elephant. You're going to eat a leg at a time. So maybe you start at the trunk next time. You started at the tail the day before, you know, if you're doing the same job. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah, I know. I can't do
It's a
stuff
question I
like
wanted to ask because it was in the message you put this morning. A famous band.
that. Famous band.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
intrigued.
Oh, I thought that would. In fact, I was actually going to put what the story was, but I thought, well, there'd be no surprise for you. And I wanted to give you some surprises. I have a lot of stories. Most of them completely no use
Comes
to
with age,
anyone.
doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
To
So I must
people
be
like
really
us, they're
old.
fascinating.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was. I had a Volvo. I've had a couple of Volvo estates actually.
Yeah, you had something about Volvo wheels as well.
Yes.
So does this link?
It's linked, yeah.
Okay.
So I had, I bought a, let's see, 2005 Volvo XC70, which was great, large car, fold the seats down, you know, put a wardrobe in the back or a fridge. And I remember when I got it, it was in gold, which is not my favourite colour, like a greeny gold.
2005 or
It was, no, I bought it in, 2000 and, let me think, maybe 18.
Oh, okay.
Not that long ago, really. It'd done some miles, but it hadn't been looked after. And I was actually looking for an Audi A6 estate. The problem was with the Audi A6 that most of them at the time had been really hammered by younger people, whereas the Volvo had been very well looked after by generally older people. So I bought a better car from a used point of view because it had been serviced regular, very good service history on it. And so you can't choose the colour. The interior was like a tan colour, which I didn't really like, but it was leather. But everything worked and everything was quality. And I remember my eldest son, Jake's brother, looking at it at the time, and he looked in the front, he went, and then looked in the back, and he went, oh, they put your armchairs in the back, Grandad, as well. I said, thanks. And he says, and even a pipe rack. I said, listen, no more jokes. This thing drives really well. It will drive through a problem. You don't have to drive around it. You'll drive through it and you'll go, what was that? You know, and you'll carry on. Anyway, safe. So I had this Volvo. I think I had it for 3-4 years, something like that. But in that first year, I remember having some tyres on it. And then I thought, oh, this would be great with some winter tyres on. And I think, well, I don't want to change the tyres that I've got and keep swapping. I need another set of wheels. So I'm looking on eBay for something and I see this perfect set. It was from a slightly newer one, but it still fitted the car. 5 wheels with 3,000 miles of brand new winter tyres on. So I'm thinking, this is perfect. I haven't got to take the tyres off that. I can just switch the wheels. So I answered this advert. I buy the wheels. I can't remember how much for, but it was 100 quid a wheel or something like that, which was less than what the tyres were, never mind the wheel. So the communication was very good, which usually means it's an older person.
Yeah, of course.
So I go down the country, and I can't remember exactly where, but I'm going to say somewhere like Hertfordshire or something like that. Get to this place to go and fetch them. It was a really nice area. And I go to the address, and the guy who's selling them, an older chap's on the drive when I pull up. And obviously I'm in the XC70, so, oh, nice car, you know. Are you Volvo, man? Then, oh, yeah, which is the reason he got these wheels and tyres. He says, come and have a look anyway. So he showed me where the wheels were. They were absolutely what he described. I said, no problem, here's the money, let's go. And then in the garage, you've got other Volvo bits. So some new old stock, there were some mud flaps and mats and some other engine bits and spares, but they're in bags. So I said, oh, you really like Volvos then? He said, yeah, I used to deal in them actually for a bit. It was something, but he's always been into Volvos.
Right, okay.
So anyway, he says, just come through into the house. I'm going to write you a receipt for the cash. And we go into the house. I go into the hall, and there's some really nice guitars hanging on the wall and some pictures of things. And I said, my youngest son's into guitars, meaning Jake, with the music shop here, you know. And I said, oh, my son's into guitars. He says, oh, these are my sons, actually. He said I said, oh, does he play? He says, well, he does, but he actually produces a band. I said, oh, God, that's fantastic. And I said, is it anyone I've heard of? He went, oh, you might have done, Stereophonics. I went, oh, yeah, I've heard of them. In fact, actually, I just bought the week before their latest LP because I really like, you know, on CD, as you would in an old Volvo. It's a CD.
Yeah, of course.
Very old-fashioned. And I just bought it. I said, honestly, I'm listening to the new album now. He says, oh, he said, if you read the credits, you know, you'll see. And his name was David Lowe.
Right.
And his son is Jim Lowe. And Jim Lowe produces the Stereophonics.
Wow.
And has done for some time.
Wow.
So obviously then
That's really cool.
I am obviously in the family of stereophonics, aren't I? So that's my tenuous
Have you
link.
still got the wheels?
No. Well, when I sold the car, I sold the wheels with it, and I had it for a time. And it wasn't that I needed to sell it on. I saw the Audi that I wanted, which is the one I've had, the grey one that I've had for the last 4 years.
That was kind of like that. I told you about the running I had. Well, I went to Rob's.
Oh, yeah.
So our mate Rob owns a motorsport company. Him and his brother, they're based on Donington Park.
Yeah.
So
What's
he's
his name?
Called Alamy.
Alamy Motorsport.
Right.
Alumi, Alamy.
How long have they been there?
God,
Not
five.
a while, but not as long as they were at
4 or
the
5 years.
place
But
where-
they were in Trowell before, towards Ilkeston.
I just wondered if I knew them when I used to have an annual suite at Donington. We used to
How
know
long
a lot
ago?
of people. Well, it would be 2015.
It was
Oh no,
4
no,
years, so
yeah,
it was
not
one of
28
those times.
2018 they moved.
roughly. Yeah, it was about
Right, okay.
2018. So they're based. When you go into the main entrance, you've got the behind. It used to be Caterham, and is now Formula E on
That's
the left,
right, yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So
the new
behind that,
buildings.
there's that industrial estate.
There is, yeah.
So in the far corner
Okay,
on the
yeah.
left, they've got the big unit
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So I go around and see him every so often. A really good friend of
Very
mine.
good.
And I popped in, and because I've noticed he's starting to get more and more connections. So he's had the likes, Matt Armstrong,
Yeah.
Chris
I watched
Slicks,
that, yeah.
and they go and have their cars done by him, all the wheel alignment and stuff like that. Anyway, I turn up, and I recognised him, didn't I? But it was one of Matt Armstrong's mates who's always on the channel, and I recognised him. Obviously, at the time, I'm like, I know your face. I don't know where from. So I said hello. And then there was this other guy, big white beard, looked a bit like Santa, but he had the thickest Brummy Dudley accent, and such a sweet guy, a really nice guy, but long white hair, long white beard, and he was just jolly, right? And he was chatting away for ages. We go back and forth, blah blah. Rob and his brother introduced me to him, and then they mentioned some sort of comment about music and this that. I'm chatting away to this guy about he had a Bentley Continental at the time. We were talking about cars. I was looking for a new car and want something more comfy but sporty, this, that, whatever. And then it turns out this guy's really well known, very well known. So he, for the past however many years, he's been the live sound engineer for Metallica.
Oh, wow.
So
Is he deaf?
toured. I know. Tell me about it. Yeah, he's toured around the world, and he, any live concert, he's been the head music sound engineer, and he's really well known. So I searched him. I feel like his name was Big Mike.
Big Mick.
Big Mick. That was it.
Big
Big Mick. So if you search Big Mick, you'll see he'll come up, and he's like really well known. Sound engineer for him, and he's obviously doing. I think Oasis. Actually, I don't know if he's doing it now, but Oasis approached him to be their sound engineer because they're touring next year or this year.
Yeah.
Next year, isn't
Next
it?
year it is, yeah.
So they approached him.
What was it they did this year? Did they do Glastonbury?
No,
They've done something
the big
this year, haven't
the
they?
big deal is next year. Everyone tried to get tickets. I think Abby got some tickets.
Oh, really?
I think she was. Yeah, we tried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wanted to see him.
I
But
feel like they did
I'd
something
love
this
to
year,
go
though,
see him.
Oh,
when they
definitely.
announced their thing. Didn't they do something this year?
I don't think they've done anything
I don't think
together.
Was it not?
I don't think so.
Other than saying we're
No,
getting
it was
together.
an
Yeah,
announcement,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Part of me, when you said famous band, I was like, it's gonna
gonna be
turn out.
Oasis.
No, I was gonna say it's gonna turn out you were in a band.
Yeah, I know. What did I
Because-
said?
because then I was
that's another
like-
story.
Because then I was like, well, your son's like into guitars
Yeah,
and he's got the
yeah.
guitar shop.
Yeah,
So I was
Maybe
like-
he used to play guitar.
yeah.
I've got another
Do you-
funny
have you
music story.
played guitar?
I have played and I have got a guitar. Or I've got a couple of guitars, but Jake's got. If you think what he's got here, 50, he's got probably the same again at home.
Really?
Wow.
But he got into it. He's self-taught, and he's very good with wood and the things that go together with wood, which includes guitars, of course.
Yeah.
Whereas Harry, who's 3 years older than him, is very good on the welding and steel and mechanic.
Hey, that's
and he's
handy, isn't it?
self-taught, yeah. So Harry was, when I built the Lotus 7 Type, Harry came into the garage and helped me. He was holding chassis tubes while I tack welded, turning his head away. He was only 3.
Oh wow!
He was welding when he was 9. We bought him a Mini when he was 9, which he's still got, and we put him that back on the road, a Mini Clubman.
Wow!
From 79, I think it is. But he's very good on that. But he'd be good on a road trip, Harry would, because if he broke down, by the time he'd rung the AA, he'd be under the car fixing it, and it'd be fixed. He's really good at that. Jake is really good on those guitars, and he's very good with the music. He's been on BBC introducing Jake a couple of times, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he could go further with it.
Oh, wow.
I've tried to get into that. But,
I used to play guitar years ago.
What was he tried to, in what, like, capacity of, was he in a band?
He writes, well, he was in a band. He writes his own music anyway, plays his own music, and he records his own music. He's on Spotify.
Right. And
you can get his stuff under the pseudonym of Baby.
Baby,
yeah. So if you go on Baby, you'll get his stuff.
You know, when you were saying that at first, I don't know why. I just had a thing in my head. It was like, write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
Dennis Waterman. Right, theme tune.
I'm going to do some mid-podcast searching. So I feel like I've seen his name pop up before.
There is some. This material is really
this guy's on Spotify.
Yeah, I make music as well. Yeah, hence why I've got all this stuff. Yeah,
and I sing in the shower.
Probably a very different genre to what Jake does, but
he's definitely got his own style to it. Yeah, I know the influences because we've heard it. But I used to play. I had a few Porsches, but I had a 944 that I used to pick them up from school or pick them up from the grandparents and take them. He used to sit in the back. He was demoted to the back, which is not a big seat. So how big he is now, he wouldn't get in there now. But I used to play Stereophonics, and I'd play Elbow, and I'd play Jamiroquai. And he remembers those things. And a lot of those things are, influencing now. Certainly Elbow.
Yeah.
But if you do find him on Spotify, there's some really good stuff on there.
How's it? Is he literally just spelled Baby?
Yeah.
It's one of those. I might have to search.
There's loads of rappers called Baby.
Yeah.
So unless has
he got any like dots in it or anything like that, or is it just?
So, no.
Would you know the picture by if you saw it? Like, is it any of those?
No, it's not.
No.
I'll have to ask.
Oh wait,
what's that one?
That looks like it. Is that him?
That's him. What's he got on there?
I have seen this, and I think I've seen it because I think he follows. Yeah, he follows us on Instagram, and I think I've seen him sharing his because I've seen that picture before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby Blue is a good song on there.
Okay, yeah. I'll check that out. In fact, I'm going to give him a follow.
Yeah, he's next year. I'd planned to do something this year, but next year I am going to have a channel. I'm going to have a YouTube channel. He's already written a theme tune for me, and he's going to write some other music for it, which would be good. Which will be a nice thing to do.
You've listened to you've watched our podcast, haven't you?
Yes.
The music at the start of that, and the music, the intro for the YouTube channel, where it's like the 3 shots of us like washing. Yeah. The music for that, I did that as well. Good. Like I said, it's a very different. It's a computer-based genre compared to what he does. I imagine.
I asked someone. We was talking about this for a YouTube channel. I said it's an obvious question, but I know that if you use recorded music by regular artists, well-known artists, you have to pay for it. You have to get whatever. I said, but why do so many people use stuff that is really annoying? Because everyone goes for the free stuff, which is fine. But I'm thinking, how much would it be? Because I'd sooner pay for the nice music and have something that you actually want.
Yeah, that's the trouble with royalty free, because it all say you notice it straight away. You know what's been paid for, what hasn't.
So how much is actual music? I don't know. I don't know how you find out.
It comes down to the artist, doesn't it? Yeah. Whoever's made it, what they're willing to charge.
It can be quite expensive. I mean, so we were using. I just used to get stuff off YouTube because if you put in royalty-free music on YouTube, it comes up and you can just. But then there's only so many of those, and like you said, everyone starts to recognise. I've watched YouTubers before, and I'm like,
I've seen this. Yeah, I've seen this on another channel or somewhere else.
Well, I actually pay for a subscription thing that's this company called Epidemic Sound, and you put, I think it's like $11.99 a month, and you get basically as many songs. There's something like 80,000 songs on there,
and they are from recognised artists.
I don't think it'd be many recognised on there, will there?
No, there are.
Really?
Yeah. If you Shazam the songs, they come up as people on Spotify, but they've given their rights to this company.
Yeah.
So you're essentially paying $11.99 for a month for the license.
Yeah.
To use that song, and they are good. Some of them are good songs.
I think that's relatively.
And they give you like with vocals, without vocals. So if you want to just have the instrumental,
a
lot of the songs we use have actually got singers and stuff on, but I just don't download that version. I download the instrumental.
It's interesting,
version.
that is. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah, like I could put my music on there for people to, but you're just giving away your.
Yeah.
You're selling it to that company or whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, how would it work? Wait. Oh, your music on that site, on the plugin.
Yeah, so you probably won't have noticed, but when I upload the YouTube videos, I said recently we keep getting copyright strikes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do anything because it's recognizing that it's a used song, but then it must know that company gives away their rights to a website to use the song. So it knows it's a song that's out there, but it's like, oh, yeah, they give their licenses to this company. But yeah, to answer the question, it can be quite expensive to use because people, if you say I'm going to use it, they're like, oh, well, how famous are you? Are you going to get? They give you a one-time fee or whatever, and
But how does it work? See, I was listening to a podcast the other day, the fellas, and they're quite well known. They're YouTubers that have their own podcast. And they did this, to be honest, a really cool challenge that I'd like to do. They did a 24-hour go-karting race. They entered their team and did that.
Sounds tiring.
So they had a team of, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 drivers, something like that. And then obviously the interchange throughout the race.
You'd be out for hours at a time.
Yeah. 2-3 hour stints, something like that. Yeah, out on the out karting. Can't remember where it was. But yeah, they were talking about for the video. I mean, the video is brilliant. I'll have to send it you to give it a watch. It's about an hour or so long. So it just follows the day because they've done it twice now. They did it a few years ago and did it again recently. But yeah, he was taught the guy this guy called Chip, who's behind the video, it's his YouTube channel. He was talking about how he thought, fuck it, I'm going to use a song. And he used Fred again. I think it was... which song was it? Rumble. So I can't remember which song it was, but either way, it's an actual song and he was like, okay, he's not gonna get the advertising money.
Yeah, you can use the songs, you just won't get monetized.
So you don't get monetized then. So you can still use them. So
So
the
if
video's not gonna get taken down for you using other songs.
No, because you're not breaking the they have laws like where you can't show like a dead body or something like that, like was it Logan Paul did?
Yeah.
Like things like that. You can't do things like that. But using a song, you just if you're getting paid from YouTube, and that one video just won't be able to.
So if we were to use whatever songs, then we could.
We could use whatever songs we want. So currently we're not.
So it's just
we're not monetized. Yeah.
Oh.
But then further down the line, if we get monetized and people go back and watch our old stuff, we won't make money on that video.
I see.
It's weird as well because I'm on Spotify. To get on Spotify, you have to go through a distribution company like Jake will know. I don't know who he uses, but I use a company called DistroKid, and they kind of like technically own the rights to my music now. So there's things you can do so you still own stuff, but basically if I upload one of my songs to YouTube, it'll get flagged up as copyright. And it's like, wait,
it's yours.
It's mine.
You've got to prove
do what I want.
I've got to prove. I uploaded one to Facebook a couple of years ago, and it was like it got taken down. I was like, but it's mine.
See, I was just about to say, like with Facebook, if you upload something with a song, it'll say it's copyright and it'll take it down. Yeah. I didn't know if that was the same on YouTube or
no, not on
whatever.
YouTube. It's just weirdly, it's just Facebook that does that.
Yeah, it's strange. I don't like Facebook.
Interesting.
Another one of the things I read earlier was stock. And I was like,
stock.
What does he mean by stock?
Stock. Well, whatever I say, you see, and I mean, it's not just in the cafe.
No, I figured it was to do with cars.
If someone says to me, I always go, I've got one of them in stock, as if I'm some sort of dealer of anything. And pretty much I can get you anything you want. But
anything?
You name it, I can get it.
Baby oil.
Well, maybe not that. I think you need to call Diddy. He's got stock. Current stock.
See, I thought you meant cars that you own.
No, I did. That's what I meant.
Oh, is that what you meant?
I didn't mean like, I've got 40
No,
cans
yeah,
of
no,
Coca-Cola.
I didn't think it was that. What cars do you currently own?
We've had many cars over the years, of course. Current stock includes, and this is going to include, I'll tell you whose is whose. Okay. Obviously, you know about the 911 that I've got.
Yeah.
I've got a 924S, an 85, a really early one to UK, probably in the first batch that came to the UK.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That wants work, but it will be a runner very shortly. The engine's out at the moment because I'm doing the belts on it and I'm cleaning the engine bay. Not as good as you could clean it, but I'm cleaning it anyway. A 924S, I have an early TR7 because I've been a TR7 fan for a long time.
Okay.
I had 6 at one time, but that's another story.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a story, that is. So an early TR7, we have a 95 Mini Sprite between me and the eldest son, Harry. That wanted some rebuilding, and we've almost finished that.
Mini Sprite.
So a classic Mini, one of the last of the Minis with a 1300 injection engine.
2000 the last one.
Yes, this was 95, so I think they went up to 2000, something like that. 99.
It was like a limited edition one, wasn't
right.
it, when they did the
That's
last
right.
one?
So we got that one. We've got the Mini that Harry had when he was 9. That's an 1100 Clubman from 79. That he grass tracked that for 3 years, and it's still got the mud on it from when he was 15 and he's 29 now. So that's getting rebuilt. We've been buying stuff. In fact, I bought some doors for it because we welded the doors, of course, put a cage in it. But it was never really messed about with too much. Didn't crash it. I remember buying one of these Mini doors. It had no glass in it, and the chap says, in Sutton in Asheville, so a local town, he said, "Oh, can you pick it up from work? I've got it in the car." So I went, but I had to park in the car park. And then I went into this place. I can't remember where I got it from in town, but I went and got it. And then I thought, I've got to carry this back to the car. So everyone's carrying the shopping, and I'm carrying a Mini door like this. It was
seen out of in between.
It was exactly like in between us.
Was he
door.
handcuffed to it or something like that? Why was he?
No, he was carrying it because they opened it onto a lamppost.
Took it off.
And they walk around the theme park with it.
I love it between us. I love the disco scene where they go in and there's no one else in the disco, and I cannot. I don't know what. I love
in the film. That show. I can't remember who I was talking to recently said they'd not watched it. I feel like it's my missus.
Yeah.
I feel like
I don't
it's
think Soraya's watched it either.
It's just the females don't get it. I don't think.
It is it must be a male thing.
We grew up with that show.
Great,
it's what a show. It's just it's a part of culture, I think
100%. For people at our age,
100%.
maybe not, because like you know
exactly,
but then you've got kids around our age, so that would make sense as to.
I don't know if there's anybody like in their early 20s that's kind of finding out about it. I don't know.
Maybe some, but in between is one of those. It's weird though, isn't it? Because I still think of in betweeners as like a recent thing.
But
do you know what I mean? Like a young generation thing, but it's not, because we're not young generation anymore.
But I wondered out of the people that were shopping that day, who saw the in-betweeners and thought that's
Will or whoever it was.
I carried this door and I'm thinking it was all right for a start, and then I thought, gosh, this looks very strange. Have I stolen the door? Purchased the door? Quick, let's just get it in the car and go. So back to the stock. I got the door. I've got a couple of doors. So we got this Mini, and then I got another Mini Shell, which was got the back wheels on, but no front end. But I have a front end. And it was only local. And Jake came with me and went in the transit van, in fact, the same one we've got for Café Miura. And I said, I've got to get this thing back. So I emptied the van and we put the Mini in the back of the van. And this guy who we bought it off was like, just amazed that we got it in. And we just shut the doors and away. And we did it so easily. We did it like a wheelbarrow because it had back wheels and no front. And me and Jake, Jake's strong. We went and moved it, and we got this Mini. So we got this Mini. That'll be done. I haven't got everything for that, but I'm working on it. Jacob's got a 1992 4-litre XJS coupe
nice.
with a manual box.
Oh, nice.
Not many manuals.
I was going to say
it's a straight 6.
A straight 6.
Straight 6 4-litre, which is a runner, but we sills really bad. The sills were very, very bad. He managed to get some new old stock sills. So local welder's done one side, and they had some health issues. So I'm going to do the other side, and then we want that on the road next year. That's a plan for
That's
next
a
year.
cool car.
What colour's that one?
It's a dark metallic blue.
Like what
Nice.
Ian
Yeah.
had, I imagine. Then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if you saw that
similar.
one, there was one of the guys here got one in.
You know Ian,
I
don't
if
you?
I've seen it. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've seen it. Was it inside on the
He-
pit lane?
It was
I
for
don't
a
know if
bit.
he-
Yeah,
has he sold
I
it?
think he must have done. Yeah,
Yeah.
or scrapped.
It's a shame
think I
because
remember
that was a cool car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very, very cool car. But
Nice.
that was a V8, wasn't it? That one.
It'll be a 12 or
No, it was a
it'd either be
12.
straight.
It was
Oh
V12.
yeah, of course
It'd
it
be a
was a 12. Yeah,
Complicated V12. Nice car, but
Oh, epic car.
And
but
Are
then
they that complicated? Are they?
they are from a modern point of view. If you open the bonnet on a Jag V12 and there's
There's a
pipes
lot
and
going
hoses
on.
and stuff all over the
Yeah.
place, they're probably not that complicated really, but they look it.
Yeah.
But you
yeah,
could probably fix it. But if you haven't had it running for a while, you're going to do some work to get it running.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
not
Jag.
Whereas the 4 litre was an easy one to do, straight six, an easy one.
Yeah.
So we got the Jag, and then Harry the Elder, he's got a Mark 1 Escort, a 4-door Mark 1 Escort as well,
Nice.
which was owned by a Fred Flintstone, I think, because you could put your feet through. There's
That's
got
Ford.
a few holes, yeah.
That's Ford
But I
for
mean,
you.
that's there's a story behind that which I'm not going to go into. But there's it's a nice car. It will make a nice car.
How many kids have you got? Then Jake and
I've got Jake and Harry. Yeah, Jake's the younger, Harry the elder,
Mhm.
and they could not be two different
Oh, really?
characters, not at all. One's dark hair, dark eyes. Jake's blonde hair, blue eyes, and very different likes and dislikes, and
So they both like cars.
both like cars. Harry very much so. Jake has had a passing interest, but he's very trusting. Is Jake of cars, because he had an E36 BMW, and he had an E36 BMW Estate that he bought for £600. We knew that the cat on it was worth 600, so we sold the cat. So basically, got a free car and had a new exhaust for 150 quid, and then went to France in it on his own for a month. He just booked somewhere to go
That's
and
cool.
just drove to
Good lad.
France. And he stayed in this place, and he had to chop his own wood and make the fire, and he just read his books and just had solitude for a month, and then came back.
Good
Well, like
lad.
me and Jake have got more in common than I thought.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah,
had
No, you're going to say he's
E36s,
going to
Yeah.
start.
Both made music. I was
Love-
like, I need to start having a chat with
he
him.
should.
Yeah, I need to have a chat with
Yeah,
him.
you should have a chat with him. I mean, he really likes his BMWs. He'd definitely have another one of them. But Harry the elder, he drifted E36s.
Oh, okay.
He's done a lot of drift, but Harry would not take on a project that most young people. He would take on a project that most young people wouldn't. He'd been watching someone do an engine swap in a Peugeot 106
Mhm.
from a Citroen VTR. Is it?
Yeah, VTS.
Saxo.
Saxo.
Yeah, sorry, Saxo,
I used to
yeah.
have a VTM, yeah.
And it 6 months in, and he still hadn't got this thing running.
Right.
Harry bought a good 106,
Yeah.
a crashed Citroen Saxo, and in 3 days over Christmas, we swapped everything and we run it after 3 days. We drove it after 3 days. And it was just like a prove the point, and then he sold it on. We put a Rover V8 into an E36 and made a real
nice.
beast of it,
Yeah.
which is a completely different
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
splicing
yeah.
in the looms
Yeah.
and but we do stuff like that. But Harry has no fear of that at all. Absolutely not.
Good lad.
He just doesn't see it that way. He's really good with motorbikes, and he used to buy a lot of monkey bikes or
Yeah.
mini motos as well as scooters and things like that when he got on the road. But someone would come to him and offer him something. He'd offer him half the price because it wasn't running, and they'd go, okay, and they'd sell it to him. He says it's never run, whatever this bike was, it's never run, or it's never run properly. And he would he'd keep them talking for a bit while he was tinkering with it. He'd already done the sale, the bike was his, and he kept them talking because he was going to prove. And before they left, he's riding it. He's really good. He's like an engine whisperer. Yeah. And they go, he's never done that before. And it starts straight away, and he's off. And he just had a smile on his face. But he started young. When he was only, I think he was probably 12 or 13, he had a BMX. And he rubbed the frame down and sprayed it. And I remember him taking some time on it to get this thing right. And then he said, when he'd finished it looked great. And he said, right, I'm going to Ben's, one of his mate, Ben, I'm going to Ben's. And so he went on the bike. And then he rang me about an hour afterwards, and he said, can you come and pick me up? I said, why, is there something wrong with the bike? He said, no, I've sold it. I said, so you spent all this time? He said, yeah, but I've doubled my money on it. I'm telling you, he puts 20 quid in his pocket. By the end of the week, it's 40 quid or 50 quid or something.
I like that.
He buys things But if he can, he doesn't touch them.
Yeah.
He'll buy it, technically, find someone who wants it, add something to the cost, and he takes it to him and he doesn't even see it. But he makes the money on it. He does the deal.
Fair play.
He's a hustler.
He is a hustler.
Yeah.
There's one car you didn't mention.
What's that?
Your first car, which you've still got.
A first car, yeah. Well, technically, the first car's that one.
Yeah, look at that. So you're probably wondering, looking at that, thinking, why the hell is there a toy car?
Yeah, I don't drive it as much now, funnily enough. I can't get much shopping in it at Tesco's. I had that when I was 2. So that's 55 years old now.
Wow.
My sons have had it, used it, played in it, and my grandsons also have played in it occasionally. Still on original tyres. We're really good on tyres. We don't use tyres much.
Lifetime
It's a pedal
tyres.
car, yeah.
Wow.
And it was another prized possession. So I have a photo of me in it when I was around 2, something like that.
Oh, really?
In black and white.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it is black and white actually. Yeah, it was when I had hair. Well, certainly more than I've got now. I just grew too
I'm sure
short.
that isn't your picture on WhatsApp. I'm sure you've got hair on the picture.
The picture on
An
WhatsApp
old picture.
isn't
It might be
me.
you.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's Graham Hill.
It's Graham Hill.
Race.
Damon Hill's now.
Yeah.
Okay.
World champion. I tell you where that picture came from. We'll have to talk about the hospitality thing, but I met this chap who was in the pits and paddocks in the 60s taking photos, and he's putting a book together, American. He's putting a book together, and he sent me a few of those things, so I used one as my WhatsApp picture. So it's Graham Hill in, very nonchalantly in the
I've
paddock.
kind of seen it like as the little
gotta
kind
look
of
in.
thumbnail. Yeah,
I genuinely thought it might have been like something to do with you, your dad.
Yeah.
And what?
No,
It's very random.
Very random. All the stuff for me is random. It's very random.
You were talking about hospitality. What is it you did before you came to GNC then?
Well, I've
Well, you
been
still
in-
do, don't you?
Yeah, I still do. Yeah. It's funny that we come back to a place that was connected with Rolls-Royce, because when I left school or leaving school, I was either in '84, I was either going into the RAF or I was going to go to Rolls-Royce. And I actually got a Rolls-Royce apprenticeship, but it depended on exam results. And I didn't get the exam results in the first time, the O-levels, as they were. And I tried again and still didn't quite, but they offered me a step before, so I'd got to work my way into. I was going into the drawing office. That's what I wanted, a drawing office job. And I ended up not taking it. Wished I had. And I went into drawing detail in steel buildings, so large buildings like this, multi-story buildings.
Yeah.
And I did an old-fashioned apprenticeship in the drawing office for 4 years, and went the building route into construction. So I've been in construction pretty much on and off, even though I've gone into renewable energy and water authority work and some other stuff. But I've been in construction all my life, really.
Right.
I'll still do some planning applications, to do a lot of that sort of thing, but always drawing, always been connected with drawing and technical and engineering, that sort of thing. But in 2014, me and my late father used to take him to, we used to go and watch racing. Donington was the nearest circuit, so that's our home circuit. And we used to go in, he'd got a disabled badge because he couldn't walk very well, and we used to drive into where it used to be the Donington supporters stand, or grandstand used to be, off Redgate, around Redgate before you go down Hollywood. And they put a new stand in there now. But you could drive in there as a disabled car, and you could park very close to the circuit. And of course, the toilet wasn't far away, so I used to drive him to the toilet, he'd go to the toilet, and then we'd come back and take our place. But we was in, and we'd take sandwiches and a flask, and we used to watch the race, and he used to really enjoy it. It would take him all over the place.
Yeah.
And we were on that particular, I think it was a club meeting. I don't think it was a large meeting. Can't have been touring cars or anything like that. But I noticed that all of the hospitality suites in Redgate, there's no one in them. Completely empty. And so in between races, while you're waiting and you're making small talk about what happened in the last race and what's happening in the next, I said, isn't it a shame really that all of those suites are empty? Surely there could be something we could do. And so the next day, that was the Sunday, I rang on the Monday and said, how much for a suite? I've got an idea, how much for a suite? And they told me. And they'd just come out of the F1 problem where F1 didn't make it, and they dug up the circuit, and they were just starting to get the thing going again. So they were encouraging people to be there. And so I took a suite. for the following year. So 2015 was the first year. So it was like a hobby business to do hospitality. And the original idea was to put enthusiasts, racing enthusiasts. The sponsors and the people with money were already going into those places, but the average person was having to stand in the cold. So what I did, I would sell them a ticket if they wanted, or if they'd already bought an entrance ticket, I would just say, look, give us the same again, maybe 25 quid, and you can come in and have teas, coffees, and you can have a nice place, and the family enjoyed it.
So was it a limited number?
25. Well, actually, we had a suite downstairs for a start. It was 50 people.
50
so I got
people,
50 tickets to every race event that Donington had in that one calendar year. So basically, your money purchased, book full of tickets for that. And then I was okay to sub-sell them, sell them on.
So you already have space for 50, essentially, with 50 tickets.
Yeah.
And you could just sell them on to whoever.
Yeah, and then add a little bit. So the value added was a bit of hospitality.
Yeah.
They were buying a too expensive burger and a too expensive coffee.
Yeah, of course.
They could do it in the comfort, and they got TV screens. They were on a balcony. They felt a little bit more important. I enjoyed the experience, and they did.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. And so I did that for nearly 4 years.
Right.
Then I found I'd made some more contacts, some really good ones in motorsport, and that's just grown. And in that first year, I met which is a good friend now, which are those brochures over there, actually, Matthew Twynham's tours. I found out he was about 8 years ahead of where I was.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about him. He was very generous with his advice. He did it really well, and we looked up to him and didn't copy what he did. We just went the same path. It was a very nice experience. But he was taking people to Monaco, and he was doing a lot of, he was starting to build his tours into something more. Had a suite. He had a suite there, actually. The reason he came in, well, actually, he said that I dragged him in for business, try and sell him something. I don't think well, maybe I did. But he was obviously coming in because he had that suite a few years before, and he wanted to see what it was like. So we went from a Redgate lower suite, and the following year we went upstairs, and then it really took off then, because it was where people wanted to be. And we got some race teams, and we got some other sponsors, and we sort of grew it from that. Still a hobby business, but I only needed to be there at the weekend. So I would prep on a Saturday and then do Sunday, and then I'd be at work again on the Monday.
Yeah.
But it was a way of getting closer to racing, motorsport, cars, bikes, those sort of things. But didn't realise how much of a connection those things would bring. We've done some really fantastic things that's a money couldn't buy ticket, because people we've befriended and been good with have then returned by giving us things.
Yeah, I bet you do actually meet. And I'm assuming these are people that have obviously, bought a ticket and you've hosted them.
Exactly, yeah.
And you've got to know them, then they come again and come again.
Yeah,
and
because we people, we look after people. And that's the reason that, I'll go back to that, but that's the reason that we came into this. Someone we met in hospitality, who became a friend, came here for something else, and then said, they're looking for someone to run the cafe, as a separate business. Would you be interested? And I wanted to keep things going, and I'd done some hospitality. I've been helping Matt with these that are going abroad, So I go to Monaco, and I go to, I'm still doing that, and I go to the Mille Miglia in Italy. We do Le Mans and Classic Le Mans, Goodwood Revival, some aircraft tours, some World War. We always do a D-Day tour, some incredible experiences.
So that you do with your mate, and then you have your
we've traded
suite.
A bit of business between us, but his business much bigger. He's got a really good database, which helps.
Yeah, of course.
And he was doing it as his day job, and I was doing it as a weekend job. But the truth is, we got on so well, and we understood each other. And he asked me if I'd help him build the business again in 2019, and then COVID came in 20. We did something in late 21, and then it's really taken. So I do about 65 days with him, helping him a year. And this year's been a really good one.
That explains why I think it was like not long after we moved here.
I wasn't here.
Well, there was that, but then like
we'd ask for a month.
We'd ask you, and then you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I've just come back from
Monaco."
And I was like, "Bloody hell, jet set."
As you do. Now
Calf pay as well.
I've just been in a lucky position.
Before you're doing this hospitality thing, did you have anything to do with catering or anything, or was it all just new?
When I was still school, maybe 14, 15, something like that, my uncle had an outside catering business, and he had doing weddings and other things, and he had a restaurant for a while, and me and a friend of mine, I've got a few stories about that, but me and a friend of mine used to go and help, and we'd be the heavy lifters, we'd come in and bring all the pots and pans and stuff, and we'd help to serve. We'd do sherry on arrival or drinks on arrival or something like that, and so I got an interest in it, and we did some simple silver service, to serve onto tables, which I enjoyed, but I've always fancied doing something like that. And when the hospitality thing came, we got a contract to do a racing series for a good client who I'm still really kept in contact with, and she asked us to do 6 circuits, and none were Donington. Everything was, we did Silverstone, Brands, Cadwell, Knockhill, Scotland. What was it all? Anyway, 6 circuits, and we had to take everything and set up in the race paddock, and we would serve. It started with 60 people, so we'd have to do breakfast, main lunch, and afternoon tea without any running water, no power. Wow. And just a temporary mobile kitchen. So I bought things to do it, and that's when we really started into doing catering, into starting doing food. So we got our hygiene licenses, got some training, and we started to do that, and that's what lingered. But I always fancied a restaurant, not necessarily a cafe. I always fancied a restaurant, and this came up as an opportunity potentially to do it. So that's where the food thing came. So I'm no chef, don't profess to be, but I do know how to do hospitality catering.
Interesting. Because it's funny you say that, because me and my missus speak about it quite a lot, because we're both avid cooks. We love cooking, trying new stuff and whatever else. So of course, one of the kind of pipe dreams that we have one day is to open a little restaurant, cafe, something along those lines, something a bit different, abroad somewhere, not here, by a beach. Do you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Nice. If we've got this, we'd love to do that one day. So that's why I wondered. I wonder if it was like something for you, but it just seems to be. Oh no, I like racing. This is my in to watch racing every weekend. Well, let's do it.
The problem came that I did it. Obviously, I had an interest in it, and I thought it could be a business. So I thought I'd like my own business. That's the first business that I've had, a limited company.
Okay.
And I started. So next year will be 10 years for me.
Wow,
which is good. And we've done all sorts of things, but. The issue was I got in it and I hoped to get closer, which I did. I got closer to the racing. I got closer to the teams and the drivers. But I saw less racing.
Yeah, of course. You're working.
I was just an enthusiast. You see a lot less. But it's a trade-off, really. We've done some really good things. I mean, the one, I don't know if I put it in the notes, but we went to Carfest North.
You didn't put it in the notes,
Carfest North's a good story. So there's again, through hospitality, a good friend. In fact, he's got the Morris Minor low light, the green Morris Minor.
The green one, yeah.
Paul, he's driven a lot of things, raced a lot of things. He bought that's his black E-type. He's got a black F-type.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. His wife's great as well. Really friendly people. And he invited us. He was invited to do Carfest North. I don't know how he got the contact in the first place. Carfest North was not a hill climb, but it was a run between this point and this point at a stately home in the north. And Chris Evans, same thing in the south. Well, he used to use Jody Schecter's farm or his place to do the one in the south. So Paul says to me one day, I've got these extra tickets. Do you want to come on the Sunday? Bring the wife. And I said, yeah, why not? That'd be great. He says, nothing to pay. He says, but you've got to meet me at the gate because you're my guest. So I've got to bring you in. It's not dodgy or anything. You just got to come in. So we went in. We had a great time. We're in the driver's enclosure. There's people that I've never seen before. Some famous people in there. I think this is great. We're all dressed up, But I don't like, I wouldn't like to think someone thought I was a freeloader and I wanted. So I'm thanks very much. That's great. And we had a nice brunch, and then we had a walk around, and then Paul says, well, if you want to, when I do my run, you can come in the car. So I'm in the Morris Minor, and we go up the hill in the car. This is fantastic. Best day at work ever. So we do that, and then, we have a bit of lunch, and we're in and out, and there's a few other friends. There's another chap called Andrew who's, he's into Lamborghinis, and so he's there running his Lamborghini. I met Chris Evans. We spoke to Chris Evans in the paddock, and then later in the day, they have a concert, don't they? They have each, and the people who are playing are really top stars, you know, there's all sorts, and they have a concert and they change. So they have 2 stages. This stage may be the one where the act is playing, and the other stage is being prepped for the next act. So they alternate between the two. And in the middle, there's a stage where Chris Evans hosts it from, and his family is there, you know. So by the time we got to the concert, everyone knows what's happening. They're all there with the picnic rugs. We're miles away from the stage, but we're still enjoying it. It's a great atmosphere that in the summer, you know, sun's shining, it was warm. So we were very happy, me and the wife, just to stand at the back and watch. I think Squeeze were on at the time when we got there. Anyway, we watched that. Then this other friend with the Lamborghini, he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Oh, do you want to get a bit closer? Because I'm going that way." I went, "Oh yeah, that's good." He says, "Well, follow me." So I say to the wife, "Come on, we're going." She said, "Where are we going?" I said, "It doesn't matter. Just follow him."
Just follow, yeah.
So we followed him all the way around the crowd, and we get to the stage, and there's an area in front of the stage, or to one side of one of the stages, and it's for the marshals for the day and the drivers who've run the cars up the hill and a few other people, and we go straight in this enclosure. I think, "God, this is good." Wow. Let's get a drink. They give you a drink, free drink straight away. We literally had one sip of this drink, and people started trooping out of this. Someone's leading them out. So all the marshals in their orange costume, you know, orange overalls, and all the drivers. And Paul, with the Morris Minor, he gets there. He said, "Oh, I've been looking for you, you know. We you know, this is where I was trying to get hold of you. We need to be in here." I said, "Okay." I said, "Where are we going now?" He says, "I don't know. It looks like they're going to take us a bit of a backstage tour." So I'm trooping out. My wife says, "Where are we going?" I said, "Doesn't matter. Just follow him." So we follow him around the back of the stage, but we're at the back of the caterpillar of people, and I can see the person at the front who's telling them where they're going to go. So we hold for a minute, and then the train of people starts moving again. So there's like 50 of us, or whatever, 50, 60 people. And my wife says, "Where are we going?" I said, "Don't matter, just follow him." So we go, and we go up the stairs towards the middle of the stage where Chris Evans is. And I'm thinking, wow, we're going to be, you know, when you see on a concert, the people stood in the wings of the stage. I think, God, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Squeeze a plane, you know, over there. Anyway, we don't. We go up the stairs and we come through the curtain, and Chris Evans is welcoming and thanking all of the drivers and marshals.
And you're
the
up
crowds are all
going on stage.
My wife was so embarrassed. She just wanted, and I went, "Thanks, Chris. I'll come again next year. Thanks, everyone." And we walk out down the front of the stage with everyone go, "Thanks for coming. You did a great job. It's no problem." And we walk down the stage, and we walk along the front of the stage on the ground, and Billy Ocean came on.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And we sat right in front of him and watched Billy Ocean. He was fantastic.
You know what would have been a great round? You said Stereophonics came on.
That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. But, you know, it was that sort of thing. Yes, you could have got into that position. We didn't ask for it. We didn't want to think we were taking something that we shouldn't. Yeah. But by knowing someone who knew someone, and then it gradually grows, and you think you should take some of these opportunities because
you know, sometimes they say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and sometimes
it's definitely happened in the hospitality things we've done. We've done some of the nicest experiences and met some of the nicest people.
I can imagine,
and really enjoyed and been appreciative of the things that's come to us, you know. And we've tried to repay that and give people something back.
Well, we get on with you. You're a nice guy.
Thanks.
I mean, you know, and it's one of those where, I mean, it's why you're here now with us. I mean, normally,
I've pestered you for
yeah. We're like, we may as well get him on at some point, but no, you can tell you give off that energy, and it's like I can see why the hospitality side works because. It's all about being a face. You know, you're welcoming people in, you're giving them something.
Exactly right. It's part of the service. I never would have necessarily put me down for this. I was quite shy, or I think I am. But obviously, coming, it's a way of. I've run sites. The last site I did was 100 men every day, and I was in charge of the site, building site, and. You've got to, I think the older you get, the more you see of how people are, and not to be stereotypical, but you know how to deal with people. You get used to how certain people tick and how to get the best out of them, you know. And I think it helps with that. But in hospitality, some people have paid money that it doesn't mean anything to them. which is no disrespect. And some people, it's big money.
Yeah.
And
It's their weekend out.
yeah,
It's
they
then you
shouldn't
want to
feel
make it.
any different. And
Yeah,
we want them
100%,
to have
yeah.
a fantastic time, you know, so they remember it, even if it's the only time they ever do it, or they think, I'm going to do that again. And we don't treat anyone any different. But when they come in and I've greeted them in the first place, I have a small, short conversation because you're checking them in and you give them a lanyard and you know, have a nice time with it. We're going to make you a nice tea or coffee over there. I try to get a nugget of information. So I might ask them where they travelled from or how they got there or what they're interested in or who they're supporting for the day. But I don't say any more. And then when they've gone in and settled down, I go back to them and I say, oh, so you came from Herefordshire? And they go,
It's
he remembers,
yeah,
you know, and he was interested because I am interested. I
Yeah,
want to know
100%.
why they're there
Yeah,
and what
yeah,
they're interested
yeah.
in. And I say to them, I want you to have the best experience. So what do you want out of the experience? Because if you're a real fan for someone, I'll try and get you closer to that person if possible, or that team or whatever. If you're just a general fan, I'll tell you where the best place is to watch. Don't stay in this week. Go and watch on that corner because I know you've got it's a good position to watch from. So we try and get the best out of it. But
It's personalising it to that person.
Exactly.
I think it's a good, really good trait to have. It's one thing I always try to practice as well. I don't always remember people's names. We spoke about this on a previous podcast. Names I'm terrible with.
I have the same. Because
But if it's a story or something, then I can.
We do a tour and it lasts a week. I just about get everyone's name by the end, but I'll never forget a face.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, we took 200 people to Spa, to the F1 in Spa. That's a lot of people to try and get to know in the weekend.
Yeah.
But you take your own 50. We had a 50 each. And it's better to know faces, because if I had to pick someone out in a crowd because they were walking the wrong way, they needed to go that way instead of that way, I don't really need to know the name. I need to know what they look like and remember them from that. He's on our guest list, you know. So, but it is important to be personable. But I think that's what's missing in modern life. We all do our own things, and things get very
The personal side,
People still
100%.
like the interaction. And the thing is with us, we're genuinely interested in the racing and the cars and the machinery.
Well, that helps.
And they like that.
You're not just a
And
catering company. Or
no, exactly. It'd be very easy to think we're just doing that thing. Catering's just a very small part of it.
No, I completely get that, and that's one thing that well, even with ATD, we had this conversation, and it was one of those. We either kind of obviously we want to expand, as you know, we're getting busy. We want to expand. We want to build something for our future, and it was one of those. We can either go down that kind of I call it the corporate route, a corporate route of everything being regimented. We take people on and blah, blah, blah. But you then lose that personal touch.
Exactly.
Whereas for years, people come to us.
That's what the business has been
for
about.
us. You know, this is why we do this. We do the YouTube and stuff like that. Just so that personality comes through on camera and people get to know us as just people. Because we are just people. We have a similar interest, and that's cars. That's how we've met, through cars, essentially. And it's that kind of community that people like, you know, that's what they want to be part of it, and they want to feel special. You know, I love it when, you know, I bump into someone that might recognize me, and straight away they're like, oh, hey mate, how you doing? And straight away they're trying to welcome you in and this, that, and you're like, oh, okay, this is really nice.
And
Thanks
the continuity is good. You know, we find it because we get a lot of return customers. They like the fact that you eventually know who they are, they get the name, but they like the continuity of service. So, you know, you've been a part of their life for whatever reason, and you're continuing to be, and they like to see a familiar face.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I went to Barcelona last week, as obviously, as you know, it was my birthday as well as yours.
Exactly. Yeah, we share the same birthday.
We share the same birthday.
Who would have known?
But when we were in Barcelona, there was a coffee shop downstairs, and obviously we went in there every day. We were only there for 4 or 5 days, but every day they get to know us. Right? Flat white today, is it? Yeah, of course it is.
Well,
and
that's important for us. When we do hospitality, and they're with you maybe for the day, remembering what they have and how they have it. Really good, it's really important. You've not won them over because you're not trying to do that, but you've got them into a point where they know that you're caring for them and they like being cared for. They go on the tours with Matt, and we pick them up on the day, maybe the Wednesday or the Thursday, and we release them again on the Monday. So we have a full almost a week, or maybe even more sometimes. They don't have to think about anything. They don't have to think where they're eating. They don't have to think how they're going to get there. They don't have to think. Matt plans these things to a really minute detail, and I help him to make that happen then. And the guests love it, especially the Americans coming over for F1 or something like that.
Yeah.
They love it because it's very difficult from a distance to book a restaurant for Thursday night when you're the other side of the pond, and and he
Trying to
looks
get a
after all those
reservation
things.
and this, that, whatever. Yeah.
So it is important to
Yeah,
get
100%
to know
it
them
is.
and get so they know that you're interested.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we genuinely are. We're genuinely interested. So it does help with the cafe, but you're seeing so many different people, and you do your best. But there's a guy who comes in and he sits in the same chair to the same table, and he's been in at least half a dozen times, and I know he has tea, and I know how sweetener in his tea. I don't know his name. I don't need to know his name, but I know exactly what he has.
Yeah.
And he doesn't ask anymore because I put it on it. Oh, thanks.
Same again.
Same again,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the key words. Same again.
Same again.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's a nice thing,
Yeah,
and
it
he
is.
sits and, for an hour and then disappears, which
Yeah,
is great.
it's that human interaction, and I think these days,
It's not quite the same, but we've had a couple of customers that we've offered them a lift to the train station, and they're
it's small things.
and they're like,
What the hell? What?
I was just going to walk. Are
Yeah,
you
or
sure?
I was just going to get a
You
taxi
sure?
or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, of course. No, fine.
good.
We'll give you a lift. Because it's even a Discovery. That Discovery we're talking about that Gaz started today. Originally the car was meant to be coming in tomorrow, as a 3-day booking. But originally I've looked after that car for years now.
So you know it.
I know the car, but recently it was crash damaged. Went to a body shop, Chartwell's. Had some work done, and anyway, they needed it out of the way. Insurance job coming straight here, and he said to me, "Mate, I'm gonna really struggle to come get the cars, because I'm in Stoke. Let me know because I can always try and get here or whatever." And I was like, "I can go pick it up."
Pick it up. Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Nice, thanks.
amazing, thanks." That's it's nice just to. And the thing is, we don't do it to get the
No, you're doing it anyway.
not the appreciation, the whatever. We're not doing it for the brownie points.
Yeah.
Just do it just because. Not even good people. We're just people. I just think it's just normal behaviour to do.
But it's not a bad thing to do.
No.
To treat people how you'd like to be treated.
Exactly.
Wherever
that.
they come from, whatever their walk.
I'm going to charge you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
100%.
Oh yeah, I'll jump in my car, run you around there, and
Yeah.
Well, people are so used to being charged for everything, and they don't mind being charged if they get some sort of value for money. It's when it continues to be, I got charged for that, and I got charged.
It's when there's a charge for every tiny thing.
Item,
And it's that I can't think of any examples, but when someone does something for you and you're like, "Oh, I'll give you money for that." No, it's fine. It's
it's
like
included.
2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's some people that, and it's one of those. I've never been. Well, I have been religious. Well, I've grown up religious. Obviously, my family's religious. I'm not religious anymore, but I would class myself as more spiritual than religious. I don't believe in a
But
God.
your values are the same.
Yeah,
That's the same.
Exactly. But I've grown up with them
Strong
values of just being a good person. Just do whatever you can.
It does come back
just
to you.
treat
Karma
another.
is a real-
Yeah, 100%.
That's
That's it. It does
the
come back to you.
never ending knot.
Oh, I thought you were looking at the time.
No, it's a symbol. It's the symbol for karma.
Yeah,
It's
that's the way it is.
Oh, is that what that is?
yeah. It means it'll always come
So
back.
you've known each other all this time.
I know,
You didn't
yeah.
know-
I thought it was just. Thing is, he's got so many random tattoos.
No,
I don't ask what any
I'm
of
a
them
big
mean.
believer in karma. Like,
Oh yeah,
Definitely,
100%.
he genuinely rules
I-
the
I-
way that I do
about
things.
What
Yeah, it
goes
does.
around comes around. Genuinely do believe that, and it's what the thing is. It's simple things like when you're driving, I'll let someone out.
Definitely.
Because then I feel as though if I let that person
You've
out,
helped.
they might be having a really shit day.
Yeah. But you
I've let
might
him
be
out,
that
but
person in a week's time.
Yeah, exactly
You're hoping
that.
someone's going to
Because
do it.
when someone then does a small gesture, for,
Yeah.
oh, thank you so much,
Yeah.
appreciate that,
Yeah.
and it is nice. And I feel like if enough people do it, and it'll eventually, maybe we can get everyone doing it.
Well, if
Maybe
people-
one day, I
If
don't
people
know.
see the reason for it, if people see that it's good to give and it's good to better to give than to receive. But it's the simplest things. You really don't have to.
It really is the smallest things.
Yeah,
it really
makes
is
a
the
big
smallest
difference.
things that make so it can just brighten someone's day like that.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's even small things for me. Like I'm out walking the dogs. We're me and the missus, me and my brother, whoever it is, straight away morning.
Yeah.
Simple things rather than just walking past people.
Do you think some people are surprised sometimes?
Yes.
When you say morning, they go,
100%.
Oh yeah.
they don't really know what to say. They're not used to it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And I don't know if it's this day and age thing. I don't know. But again,
a lot of people are just kind of head down. I mean, I've always got my headphones in, but like a lot of people are like that, head down, headphones in.
People like you, screw faced all the time.
Ignoring the world. Yeah, to be fair, I like people, but at the same time, I don't.
Yeah.
I've been brought up to be nice, to respect people, and obviously have my manners, and I am always nice to people when I interact with people. I just try and stay away from people at the same time as well.
Yeah, well, there is a saying. I don't know who said it, but probably a few people have. But there's a saying, hell is other people, and some people really mean that, and some people mean it as a, gosh, I could really not do with those people and have any interaction with them. But you can't. I found you can't get on with everyone.
No.
You've got to find a way of getting on with everyone. Yeah. But you're certainly going to be. How many times have you met someone you thought, God, I could have known this person years because you got on with them well straight away.
Yeah.
It happens in hospitality.
Yeah.
We really have to gauge. We don't know who's we're going to face and where they come from. And it doesn't matter how much they've paid or not. And we have to gauge quite soon. Some people do not want you to be chatting to them all the time. They'll be happy to be there. They're happy to, they've come for a reason and they want that out of it. And so you just babbling on about something, well, they'll put them off. So very quickly, you've got to judge. And the more you do it, the easier it is. So I can pretty much
read
speak
people
to anyone and everyone now and very quickly see if they're a talker. Yeah. Many people like to talk about themselves, which is fine. And we have to listen to some of it. Well, some of it's really interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't know some of these things. The guy with the F40 and the 288 GTO was a very quietly spoken, nice, really nice, genuine chap. And, it was, you had to work to get some of the information out, but set him on the chat about Ferraris and he goes for it. I've got another funny story, by the way. One of the things we do in hospitality is, one of the things I like to do, sometimes when we sat having dinner with the guests at night, you might get a gap in the conversation where it goes a bit quiet because you're really putting people together and expecting them to get on with each other. And most of them do because you've got a common interest. That's what you're there for. And one of my questions is, what's the car that got away? What's the one that you didn't buy that you should have? What's the car you had but sold? It's a good way of going, I remember it, whatever. And normally it's an ordinary car. It doesn't have to be, but it could be an ordinary car, and it's the reason why. So we're in Italy on one of the Mille Miglia tours, and we're talking to, I think he was a returning guest then, an old American guy. I think he was nearly 90, if he wasn't 90, was still very active, Ted. And I said to him, Ted, what was your car that, you had or wished you had? He said, well, I was thinking, I had some nice cars, but lots of cars over the years. He said, in the 60s, late 60s, he says, I was working in London for a while, and he says, I bought Mercedes. He says, it needed a bit of work. He says, but I did that. He says, I paid £1,500 for it. And he says, and I had it a few years, and he said, I sold it for, I think he sold it for $6,500. He says, so I thought I'd made really good money. I said, well, you must have done a good job. I said, which Mercedes was it? He said, well, it was a Gullwing. He had a Gullwing. He had an S 300 Gullwing.
As you do. For what, six?
He paid £1,500 for it in the late 60s and sold it. I think he said 6,500 a few years later. Well, they're obviously quite expensive now, aren't they? But he was so matter of fact about it. I said, so obviously you wish you hadn't sold it, Ted. He said, yeah. He says, but I made money anyway. I said, no, you made good money. You more than doubled your money. Back then was good money. Yeah.
But
The thing is, you're never going to know, are you, what's going to be that car?
Well, you don't. I mean, my one, to get away, I had a 968 Porsche, which was, because I'd had 944s previous to it, it was such a step. It was a UK with only 312, I think, UK sport models. So it was between whatever the standard one was, the Comfort model and the Club Sport. It was built on the same line as the Club Sport, and they put nice seats back in, electric windows. It didn't have wind-up windows. It was a crash-damaged car that had been repaired properly, and I bought it that way, and I ran it for 2 years, and I ran it. It was my everyday car, went everywhere in it. I used to work in the north then, so I'd go up on a Monday, come back on a Friday. And I got a job closer to home, which was better, but I wasn't using the Porsche, and I didn't really need it. But I only paid, I think I paid 5.2 for it and sold it for 5 after 2 years. And the chap that bought it was a chap who runs Dorset Sports Cars, or a Jag dealer, but he raced Porsches. He raced, and Paul Winter, his name is, he races a 911, raced a 911 in the club championship. And his buddy in the business was a chap called Tim Speed. That was his actual name, which was great for a racing driver. And he raced my 968 for a couple of years. I went to Donington and saw him racing it. Of course, they'd put a cage. Well, it was great, the fact that it was potentially going to be written off. It wasn't. It was repaired. I had it for a few years, used it as my everyday car, and then he got to live on in a racing.
As a racing car.
Yeah. When would that have been?
Gosh, that's 2010, something like that. 2012. But it was a great car. In fact, I said to him, I said he was in Dorset, of course, and I said, look, I want this for it. He said, okay. He says, but I've got to get it. I says, it'll go anywhere, this car. I'd drive it to the south of France if you wanted me to. And he says, well, I'll give you what you want for it, but will you bring it? I'll pay you the fuel. Will you bring it? And I said, yeah. So I did. That was such a sad day driving that car.
It's a long drive.
I'm thinking,
to get to.
Thinking, what the hell am I doing? But I did at the time, and unfortunately, it's one I wished I'd still got, because I can't buy it for $5,000 now. And I would have another one. Even having the 911, I would still have a 968. It was such a great car, very underrated. Really.
Did you hear that story recently about a guy with a 944 that's done like
1 million miles?
Yeah, I think he's done 1 million miles in it. It was. I can't remember where I saw it now.
He's not an American guy, was he?
Think so, possibly.
It's just you can't really do 1 million miles anywhere but somewhere like that, can you?
I can't remember. I feel like I saw it on Facebook or something like that. But
Land's End, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but he's had it. He's had it from new.
A long time. I don't remember. I do remember seeing it.
You know
I don't
of
remember
it.
What it was. Yeah,
that was fast. It was really interesting.
Thing is, those cars will do it as well. They are really good.
The thing is, I think most cars, to an extent, will.
If you look
after them. There was that. I remember my uncle. I think you've met my uncle. He's been in a couple of times with me in here, but he works for Mobil. Or Mobil One or Exxon Mobil, whichever it is now. And he was telling me about Mobil doing a test with BMW on, I think it was an E39. I'm sure it was an E39.
Okay.
And again, 1 million mile car, because all they did was regularly service it.
Keep going.
With obviously it was a marketing thing for Mobil, saying, look, use our oil. This is how well it lubricates and whatever else. And it did 1 million plus miles
easily,
in this car, which is
Was that simulated miles or actual?
I believe it was actual miles from memory anyway. I remember, I vaguely remember reading about it.
Is this back when it was new? Back when the E39 was new?
I think so. I think so. But then the thing is, because I was talking to my uncle about it, like you get the likes like South Africa and stuff like that. They have all these older German cars.
Well, like your W123 and stuff like that. They have lots of them.
Cars like that have done again 500,000 miles.
Well, some of them 1 million easily.
The last E39, your old one that I had, that 280k on it, just shy. The only reason it died is the car didn't die.
Yeah, it didn't die. It was.
The engine, bodywork was.
To be fair, the guy took the engine out and put it in something else. So
the engine and gearbox were sweet. Bear in mind, the one I've got now, the gearbox isn't as smooth, and it's a lower mileage one. Whereas that one, the door was 280,000 on. It was so smooth.
Just getting running.
It was just running. And it was rotting. That's the only thing. The bodywork was rotting. It was the point where we jacked it up, didn't we? And then it just went bung straight through the door sill into the door, wasn't it?
Pushed the door open, I remember.
Yeah.
Came through the
we
door,
put an axle
pushed the
stand
door
and it went bang.
Well, the E36 is bad. Some of the ones that carry bad.
Mine was really bad.
They all rot in the same place, though. Yeah. The thing is, it's not a BMW problem. It's not. It's
annoying because
cars.
You've got cars that used to fall apart bodywork wise, but the engines would go forever. Now it's the other way around. Everything's plastic and aluminium.
Nothing will rot.
Nothing rots, but the engine will just fail like after 80,000 miles.
Engine, electrics, whatever else.
Modern cars are terrible. Like, they're just not built to.
No, they're not. They
miles.
they feel like they just. I just don't like new cars. Nothing feels good. Don't get me wrong. I can appreciate them. I can appreciate certain new cars. Like we were talking about pretty cars earlier. That Ferrari 296.
Yes, very good looking car.
Pretty car.
Yeah.
Right. For a newer car. But there's not many new cars out there that are pretty. But then the trouble is they all have this, to me, they all have the same feel.
Yeah.
Regardless, I don't get me wrong, some feel more plastic than others.
Yeah.
But when you like compare our older Beamers, they were nothing special, really. Like that was the standard for a 5 Series, for an X5, for a 3 Series. It was standard, wasn't it? But now you compare it to like the newer age equivalents. It feels nowhere near as plasticky. It's everything is tight. The amount of cars I've had my car apart. My car's a Frankenstein. The doors are off the old one. It's 3 different cars that make one complete car, and everything still feels solid, apart from like one of the door cards where I've left the screw out. Everything still feels tight. Whereas like we've taken new cars apart and they never go back together the same. All the clips are designed to be taken off once and that's it. And everything rattles.
They've got no soul. The new cars don't have any soul. And the thing is, for most people, they don't need to have a soul, do they?
They need to get from A to B.
Well, that's the thing. If someone says to me, I only need it to get me from A to B, I go, okay, we're not on the same page.
Yeah.
We can't be friends.
We cannot be friends. I no longer want to speak to you. It's all about the bit between the A to B for me.
Well, that's why old cars exist for people like us, I guess, isn't it?
Nostalgia is a good thing. I remember with the thinking, with the reason for a good connection with the cars is I always found it when I was young, it was a safe place. And that came from, we were in a thunderstorm once. I remember I think it was a Mark II Escort that my father had at the time, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, we're safe in here, rubber tyres." I went, "God, this is really safe. I'm dry. It's doing whatever it's doing outside. And even the lightning's not going to get us. This car stuff's really good." And I remember being in that and feeling that it was a safe, like the house was safe. If you were in the house, and the car was safe. There were 2 safe places. And liked it from then. We'd had quite a few of those sort of cars, and I remember some of those. We remember the number plates, and remember, that nostalgia thing's a good thing. People, it's okay to move on and progress, but nostalgia's a good grounding. You wouldn't build a foundation. You'd build a foundation for a house. You wouldn't go and build the roof straight away, would you? Because you couldn't. So your foundation is your past, and you make mistakes, and you make some good gains, and you have to work your way forward. But nostalgia is a good thing. If it brings you to a place that makes you happy, then nostalgia is a good thing.
100%.
And cars can do it because it's a story. It reminds you of somewhere where you were, and the fact that you sold something that you wished you hadn't, and you remember that time, like music does. Music brings you to a place. And
we speak about music all the time.
I was going to say, it's funny you should say that about a safe place, because I can't remember why we were talking about it the other day, but me and my missus was talking about like she was like, "What do you like about cars?" It must have been, have we mentioned this before in a podcast? And maybe it came, I can't remember. Anyway, she said something about like, "Oh, what do you like about cars then?" And I was like, it's really hard to explain, but not so much a safe space, but I was like, I like having this thing that's mine and it's around me and I take it with me.
It's part of you.
Yeah.
It's part of you. I
went
get
to
that.
Scotland the middle of this year, and I camped. So I did Ben Nevis, and I was like, I like that I have this thing that I can sleep in.
Yep.
It will get me home.
It's an extension of you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like that,
and
that-
I've got all my things in here.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, I'm just like,
it's
cozy.
Yeah. There's certain cars that I'll drive, and like when it's your own car, especially when you're sat in the cockpit of your car, it is. There's something about it that I feel. Yeah, like you said, it's cozy, it's yours, and it's one of those. Is that the drive might be terrible of your car? You know what I mean? But it's yours.
It's yours.
But
yeah.
you know when you get back from a long journey and it's been
Yeah.
bad weather and the traffic's been bad, and you pull onto the drive, you go, well,
Yeah.
then it's like a friend that looks
Yeah,
after you.
100%. It's
well done. You know, you got me there again. You got me back home again.
100%. To be honest, I'm well done in my car after every journey. To be fair, but it gets
really
me
pleased
there.
you
You know
made it,
what?
yeah.
It's the best daily car I have ever owned.
Yeah.
People always say to me, "Oh, why don't you get a new car? Why don't you get this? Why don't you get that?" And I'm like, I just love my E39.
Yeah.
It's just, it does the job.
Yeah.
And it does it well, and it looks cool while doing it because it's just an old Slavmobile. It's just epic. I just love it. But again, like I know it's not a special car by any means. You know, it's not particularly fast. It's not particularly smooth. It's not this or that. It's just, again, it's going back to that feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, that kind of goes back to even previous cars I've had. I remember my Ibiza GTI, or even my first Ibiza, that kind of just crunching through the gears. And again, nothing beats that feeling. And I think non-car enthusiasts, like you said, don't get it because it's a machine that goes from A to B.
Yeah.
And that's it. But there's a lot more to it. You know, it's a lot of the time you spend more time in your car than you do in your own house. Like I know for cars, for me, was any time I'd feel down or this or that, first thing I want to do is go for a drive.
Yeah.
Drive.
And we used to go for drives. I remember, you know, I'm not that old, but I remember when you say, "Oh, I'll have a drive on Sunday." Nowhere in particular. You just
No
go.
destination.
No destination.
Just go.
Doesn't matter how far or how close it was.
Yeah.
And we should still do it. Certainly enthusiasts.
Me and my missus still do, to be fair.
You do it quite a lot. I try to do it, but it's one of those. I used to do it all the time. To be honest, I don't know what my excuse is. To be honest, my excuse a lot of the time is the roads aren't as clear as what they used to be, and I can't get that same enjoyment anymore.
We'll go like either in the morning or late at night. We went to Birmingham on Saturday to take my partner's mum to the airport, and obviously that was we had a kind of an end goal with it, but we would just spend the day in Birmingham, but it was really early in the morning before anywhere was open. So we were just like, should we just drive around for a bit? And we ended up driving through these random villages, and eventually we'll end up in Birmingham. But before that, we'll just kind of go around like
just destiny. Yeah, to be honest, me and my missus do that. If let's say we've booked an Airbnb somewhere for a little trip away with the dogs or whatever. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go on maps and I'm just going to find anywhere on the maps that looks green. I'm going. Yeah. And that's what we'll do. We'll just detour. Yeah. And it's nice doing that. And to be honest, I've not done it for a long time. And in fact, the last time I did it was when I went to go get that rear screen for that Porsche. I had to go
just find like a random coffee shop or something like that.
And again, I just looked at the route there. Okay, I'm going to try and avoid the main routes. And again, went out early morning, left at whatever time it was, 6 a.m. And it was such a nice drive.
Well, that's what we
really enjoyed
when we used to go to France. Oh, certainly when we're doing it for a holiday, but we still do it now. Really, we try and force the sat nav, obviously, not to go the main.
Force
route.
It off route. Yeah.
So you just look. I keep an old map. I keep the Michelin map. But the thing is with the Michelin map, you can see.
Yeah.
You can't really program the sat nav if you don't know the name of the village.
Yeah.
So what we do, we go. Well, we're going to go from here to there.
Yeah.
But we want to go to those. So when we're here, we program for that town, and it won't take you the motorway because it can't. And then when we get to that town, we program that town, and so we hop like that all the way through. And we don't go on any of them.
Yeah.
There was funny enough. There was one evening. It was about 2-3 years ago, like kind of during lockdown. Me and my missus went out, and we wanted to get to somewhere near, like in the West Midlands, and we were looking at the M42 on the map, and I was on the sat-nav, and I was like, we'll literally just keep driving so that's there, but we'll just drive around the side of it as far as we can.
Yeah.
And we just did it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And she was like, why are we doing this? And I was like, it's just different, isn't it? Yeah.
Does it?
It's nicer.
But I mean, we got out of driving, but she was like, why do you not want to go on the M42? I was like, I don't know. I just want to see if I can avoid it for a bit. But we just kind of drove
It's
around.
like the M1, though.
Drove around the back roads.
Yeah, it's like the M1. If I can avoid it, like going down south, like if you're going obviously London way and whatever, it's hard to avoid it.
Yeah.
But like going up north, there is loads of different routes that you can take, and I quite like that.
Enjoyable routes.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you
so
ever
many
get
roads.
that thing as well where obviously you have to be in an older car, but when you get somewhere, you're really happy if the journey's gone dead smoothly? Because
Oh yeah.
you get a smooth journey in all modern cars because they're modern.
Oh,
but you know, when in like a car like ours,
Well, there's that's going back to the whole.
yeah,
Well done.
yeah. If you've not had,
again.
because sometimes I'll start driving and you have shit journeys, don't you, where everything's creaked.
Yeah.
You've hit all the potholes that you could, and you feel like you've broke something.
That's the
Even if you
worst thing.
haven't.
That is the worst thing when you hear something that you don't know if you've heard before or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, and you get fixated on it, and you're like, my car's
So
going
there's
to
those
break.
journeys
my
where
car's
you
gonna
drive for quite a
break."
while, and you end of your journey, you're like, the car behaved really well this journey.
Yeah.
I had
But you
something-
wouldn't get that in a brand new car. It's just
No,
not the
no,
same.
not at all.
I had something on the 911 only a year after I had it. I came back from doing some hospitality at Silverstone, and I got to Nottingham, so I was probably about 20 minutes from home, 25 minutes from home on the motorway, and I wasn't caning it or anything like that. And I heard this noise, and it speeded up and slowed down with the engine, so it was obviously related, not just, I thought, well, it's not transmission. It doesn't seem like that.
I need to check something on the camera because it's flashing red.
Okay.
I feel like we might be at the end of
We're almost there.
camera-wise. We're actually run out of memory, but we can keep. We can wrap it up if you want, or we'll have
I'll finish the story.
We'll have no visuals at the end. I'll have to put in like a little picture of us or something.
Animation.
Yeah, it'll be like. Do you remember that girl that you used to get on the BBC One where she'd be pointing at the grey screen kind of
Test
thing?
card girl, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
She
yeah.
looks like my wife when she was young.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the test card
We'll
girl.
have to put that in at the end.
So anyway, the quick one on the Porsche was it was the bearing, the pulley on the end of the aircon pump, and you could buy it separately, and it was just disintegrating. And
But you
it was
could
wobbling,
hear-
wobbling.
you
I
could
could
just
hear it,
hear
the
it
noise,
ever
yeah.
slightly, yeah.
But it got me home. It was well done. It got me
Yeah.
home anyway.
Yeah.
So I had it fixed, and no problem at all. It's never let me down.
That's the thing. My car's had all sorts of little issues, but if it gets me somewhere and
Then
back,
you're
I'm
happy
like,
with it, yeah.
yes, I love it.
So
It's
if
like that gamble, isn't it?
if we're almost done, then I've got one story about this. Shall
Okay.
we save it
Yeah,
till
go on
next
then.
time, or shall we go for it?
Go for it. Up to you.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It's a closing out Miura story.
Go on then. Yeah, go on then.
So, of course, obsessed with the Miura, obsessed with the shape, obsessed with the history of 762 cars built, some of which are still remaining. Simon Kidston and his team came out with a book, a Miura book. It's quite famous now. There's been lots of Miura books before. Took them 10 years to put it together. I happened to be I saw it in Octane magazine, the advert, went online one late night. I hadn't been drinking anything, and clicked the button to buy the book, which was, This is Everything About a Miura, and also the register, which was as much history as they knew up to a certain date of every Miura built. So when it was registered, its chassis number, engine number, all of that, what colour it was, interior, and who owned it through the ages. Rod Stewart had 3, I think, over the
wow.
time. Yeah, he was a big one. In fact, I've got a picture a little bit like that one over there that's got Rod Stewart in it. And so I ordered this book. I pressed the button to buy it, and then thought, how the hell am I going to tell the wife I've just spent £550 on 2 books when I'd bought cars for that in days previous. So anyway, we wait for this book. I tried to explain it. I said, don't worry, dear, it'll be an investment for the future. So the book came, and 3 or 4 months later, the register came. Well, you could choose the number of the book. So 1 to 762. I had no other reason than thinking,
Carry on. Sorry.
I'll just get my birth date.
You got your phone on there.
Might as well. Just so we've got something to.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how much memory I've got on it, but
So you're going to get it anyway.
We'll try it.
We'll try it.
It's very good.
So at least you can get the book out now.
Yeah, so I get the book out.
Well, that's
so,
what I was thinking.
Yeah. So I ordered the book, and I get the book, which is this, which is a very, very large book.
It reminds me of the Guinness World
Yes,
Record.
I was trying to think what it was earlier.
Yeah. And this has got every bit of detail about how the car was developed and built, and there's some great photographs. Really good. I've still not really got to grips with reading it because I read sections of it and then go to something else. But a great book. It's a prized possession, obviously. And so I get the book, I start reading it. I have to wait for the register. I choose the number of the book by 4th of the 11th, my birthday. So 4th of the 11th. So
birthday,
411, same birthday as you. And then there's no other reason for it. It was available. I got 411. Straight away afterwards, kids the next day, they send me an email. Do you own Miura 411? I said, I wished I did. But no, I don't. He said, we don't know a lot about it. So I said, well, if I can shed any light on it, then I will do. Of course, that was very unlikely as they couldn't find it and they were the experts. So anyway, I wait for the register to come because then I'm really curious then, thinking, well, where did 411, where did it go? Who bought it? What colour was it in the first place? And where is it now? Nobody knows. So 4 months later, the register comes. And so I open the register and I want to look at,
Obviously,
what
you jumped straight
I jumped straight to it. So I thumb through the register. I get to number 411. And it was registered on the 1st of August 1969. And the first owner was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, whether it's the same Muhammad Ali, we don't know. I did speak to Simon Kidston at Le Mans, managed to catch him. He was interested because I told him I'd bought one of the books and there's only a small number of people. We get a Christmas card every year from Kidston's, which is a really nice thing from the team.
Yeah.
And they don't know. They don't know if it was or not, but it was a really nice thing to see. So it's now technically my Miura, if you know what I mean. I'd like it to be. It was in white.
Do you know if it's still out there?
No, we don't. We don't know at all. I was
you need to make that your life's mission now to find that
I think that's what I should do.
Well, if there's a picture
I wonder if
of it
Muhammad Ali still owns it.
There's a picture in the book, isn't there?
There is. It was in London.
So if you do a reg check on that, nothing comes back.
No, because it wasn't a British reg.
Right, okay.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. And I've gone through. I have started to try and source them. That's the picture of it there. It was in London, on the King's Road with EE plates.
Is that an English reg on there?
No, it was EE plates, but I think it was like a trade plate. It wasn't a registration plate. So maybe it went to Lebanon, or maybe it came from there or went there afterwards. I don't know. We don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just hope it's not rotting away in the desert somewhere.
Well, if it's in Lebanon, it's probably not rotting.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw just recently, there was a sale in California. A chap called Rudy Klein had a junkyard and he bought cars because he was a car enthusiast and he bought a lot of Porsche 356s, early 911s. He had a Gullwing, Merc Gullwing. He had 3 Miuras. And people knew of it. You couldn't go in there, really. He died not that long ago.
Was this place quite big? Did
Very
he have
big.
a massive...
Very big.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I don't know if
been
you've seen
a
the video
big
of
deal. RM
Tavares.
Sotheby's have just done the auction on it. I watched it online, watched the whole thing because I wanted to see. I found a bit out and they give all the history of the 3 Miuras that were there. Well, actually, there were 4 Miuras because there was a front end of one and there was an engine from one. And I was just hopeful.
So do you know who Tavares is?
Yes. He wanted to bid. I don't know if he did.
No, I think he got a car from there.
Did he actually get one?
Yeah.
Did he get one of the Miuras? He wanted the red one.
What did he buy again?
Well, it was all the Porsches that you were showing me that he was looking at.
Oh, it's going to bug me now.
I saw the
He
video.
bought a car.
Tavares.
I'm sure he bought a car from there. And they bought, the whole video, they're walking around this
that's it. Yeah.
scrapyard.
A lot of them did. Magnus Walker. I met Magnus Walker.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I met him in...
he's a cool guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
We were only months apart in age.
Really?
And it was funny that his thing with Porsche was when he saw the 911 Turbo, a motor show. And I had that car as a Scalextric car. It was one of my first Scalextric cars. And it was like, gosh, how his path in life went one way. He only came from Sheffield, of course, so not far from where I came from. And he went round and did the quite a few of them did the tour around the yard, but those Miuras not been seen. And nobody knew actually which ones they were. In this register, I got the details off the website, and I've gone through all of the details. So when Arish was going through and he was presuming something and hoping something else, I'm thinking, I've got all the information you need. It's right here. It's right in this book.
Speak to me.
But none of them were my Miura, should we say. So whether that will ever turn up, I'd be really interested. But everyone now that comes, 762 is not a lot, really. You can get to know quite a few.
Not at all.
No. A very special car. So these are prized possessions. I paid $550. They're now selling for $5,000.
Right. Okay. So the hope is that they go up in value enough
to get me my Miura.
There you go.
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
If pictures of the car ever become worth more than the car, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There is a problem, definitely. Well, I remember the Miuras being when they were 400,000. Now they're 1.4.
Wow.
You know.
What were they when they came out?
It's a good question. That I think
$5,000.
something. No, they actually
not far
weren't. No,
off.
I think there was 7 or something like that,
Yeah.
7 or 8,000. But
like
that
the
would have been
first-
a lot of money then.
The
Yeah,
DB5 was 2.5.
Yeah. I met someone talking about the age of. I know we need to finish, but I met someone this year, and he was an Italian born to Italian parents. His father bought a brand new DB2.
Okay.
Wow.
And his parents knew nothing about cars. So this chap I met, it was his grandparents. So his dad's mum and dad, they knew nothing about cars. And they told him, you must buy an Italian car. And so he didn't want an Italian car, he wanted an Aston Martin. So he ordered an Aston Martin, and Aston Martin owned the name Lagonda.
Yeah.
And so he asked them to put Lagonda on the invoice and not Aston Martin, because Lagonda sounded Italian.
Yeah.
And he ordered it in red. So when it turned up in Italy, it was a red Lagonda, and they said, great, fantastic, and let him have it. He kept it for 40 years. And now the chap that I met, he's got it, and he's had it for another 30 odd years.
Wow.
They've had it from brand new. And he's an Aston Martin aficionado. He's very, very good.
What's that got to be worth now?
Oh, it'd be ridiculous,
That's
money,
gonna be
especially with that sort
silly.
of heritage to it as well. Fantastic, really.
A
I
red
like those stories.
Yeah,
DB2.
like
Yeah,
I know.
so many nice things. Anyway, that was my Miura story.
Thank you
My
very much
passion
for
about
sharing
Miuras.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
So now we know where it comes from.
Now you know where it
Well,
comes from.
thanks for joining us.
Thanks very
I'm
much
sure
for
we could probably
inviting
do
me.
another podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure we will at
Hopefully
some
there's
point in the
quite a
future.
few
I think
more
we will.
stories,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. I think we've got quite a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that was
But-
good. It was a good chat.
Yeah, it was good.
I
It
don't
was
know how
good.
long we've been chatting, but quite a long time.
If you've made it to the end of this,
2 hours and nearly 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
not bad going, that.
That's
The longest one so
bro-
far.
yeah, broke
That's
our
right. We've
record.
got 2 memory cards, and there's only just gone. So hopefully my phone's still recording, so we can do like a bit of an outro.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to do it.
These
all
are still
again.
recording, aren't they?
Mic's still recording, yeah.
Yeah.
My mic's still
I'd
recording.
imagine
on
if
there.
I hadn't clicked record.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Well, I
disaster.
always try and have little backup so we can do something with.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks,
Sweet.
chaps.
No
I
worries.
wish you all the best with what you're doing. I know
Thank
you're
you
doing a
very
good
much.
job. So I am keeping the 911 dirty on purpose. So one day we can clean it and make a good job of it. It needs a bit of paint correction as well, I think. So
We'll sort it.
just
We'll
time,
sort
innit?
it.
Yeah, that's it.
Just provide us with plenty of flat whites and hot chocolates.
no problem at all.
Awesome.
Right, we'll call it there then, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks
you very
very
much.
Peace
chaps.
out. Thanks everyone for listening. If you made it this far,
And subscribe like it says
Subscribe.
on the cushion in front of the car.
but you might not see the camera or the car anymore.
Yeah, maybe. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Very good. Yeah, it's good.